Ladies and gentlemen, sirs and ma'ams, dudes and dames, YouTube is on as well. Welcome to the Campfire chat, where we get to know what they did to make Season 8 better. I do know some things that I can't share with you that will make you very happy. Season 8 is certainly moving in a more healthy direction, as we had a lot of problems with the Apparition Incursion events. They weren't the yellow from the egg, as we like to say. The same goes for some loot shenanigans from the new bosses. That it wasn't on point. And they certainly moved in a better direction there. What I find a bit sad is they figured out that boss powers are a bit bossy and overpowered. And they actually need to nerf them. So the PDR has already shown that some boss powers are too strong, that the Adverse Explosives ore needs to be nerfed, that the Belials I-beam, which was extremely strong, needs to be nerfed as well. Lilith Winds of Hate, also nerfed, sadly. So a lot of these things we're super excited for, right? A lot of the stuff that we're really looking forward to. And we had whole builds about. In Daryl's Flaming Skull, the I-beam, exactly here. They'll still be strong. But making a whole build centered around them might turn out to be more of a challenge now. I hope they didn't completely ruin them. One good thing, though, is these were shit, right? Who remembers the Apparition events? They were a mess. No whispers, nothing. You'll like the news to these, okay? Can't tell you more, but the news is going to be the reason why I actually will consider playing Season 8. Because without changes to the Apparition events, I didn't look forward to live in the Helltide, if I'm honest with you. We're also dropping more keys now, as far as I understood. So Lair Boss loot got improved, that in Torment difficulties further, you get even more loot now. In general, Torment Bosses 4 drop more loot. So it's kind of worth it to actually go to Torment 4. Finally. You know, there was actually never really a good reason to go to Torment 4. It was like, okay. But now, they're dropping more. So that's good to see. They don't seem to have nerfed more in the characters. I hope we actually get news on the unique items and the Necromancer. Because they neutered the Necromancer so hard that there's no reason to play Necro this season. I'm sorry. I really don't want to be the pessimistic person. Sure, there's still some good Necro builds. But they took a gun and shot Necromancer between the eyes. And not in a good way. We'll have to see what comes there. We get like, what, 11 minutes? 24 seconds? Don't expect this campfire to be long. It's probably going to be like a speed run on what they did to make it more playable. Okay? In the Diablo Trader chat, we already had like a pre-screening, some secret insight on what's to come. Quite excited to see your reaction and to hear who's actually going to play with me. What do Necro players play then, Kay? It's a good question. I do believe you can still play Bone Spirit. So let's say you really want to play Necro. You can still play Bone Spirit. You can still play... You can play Bone Spear to a degree. Blood Surge also works. But the fun Bloodwave build, for example, they kind of nuked that. It's not terrible, but it also just doesn't feel super good anymore. Never liked Bone Spirit. See, I'm with you there. The only Bone Spirit that was fun was Spirit Wave, and Spirit Wave got nerfed too. As someone who likes to play Necro a lot, I just don't see what I will play as a Necro player. It might be my first season ever, but we start with something else. Or it's maybe Druid. Or Barbarian. We might pull a Rob, Chad. And make a Barbarian after all. And I really don't want to. Because I like to play my Necro. We had a really cool build with the Necro though. Like, I mean, if we go back into this season, right? There was a really cool Necro build. Here, that was we had the Belials I-Beam build. Do I have that still here? That was Blood Necro. This was here. This was a build that is using the I-Beam from Belial. Here, watch this. See, like that was the I-Beam. They sadly nerfed this. That was the I-Beam again, doing billions of damage, right? Here. And I-Beam. It was super fun because you could actually play with the boss powers only. Like you see me pretty much just running around. Season 7 ends in 5 days. So that was the whole build, right? Just activate I-Beam, run around, and everything dies to the I-Beam. And it was kind of cool, but at the same time it was not so cool because like you kind of are heavily damage capped, but it was fun that you could actually use the beam. But they nerfed this. Because the I-Beam used to do so much damage. Then again, they kind of nerfed some of these powers, but I do believe they increased the scaling the powers have. So they might have reduced the damage here, but the more intelligence points you have, the more damage the power does. Do you still have time to finish the Season 7 Battle Pass if you start now? If you're at 0 in the Battle Pass and you have nothing else to do but play the game non-stop, sure, you could be able. Patch notes up already? No, Katie. Patch notes are coming right after the stream. That's at least what they promised. Now, as always, is that what's really going to happen? Personally excited to see the patch notes. I duly hope they are taking back some of their nerfs on ultimates, since that was their biggest mistake. Like, Season 7 was the season of ultimates and ultimate fun. And now Season 8 is the season where every ultimate is nerfed to the ground. Conflicted is the best way to say it, right? We want to truly use our ultimates and like spam Death Trap, Rain of Arrows, Army of the Dead, all that kind of stuff. And Diablo's like, nah. Nah. Hey, by the way, chat, the Diablo Discord, the Diablo YouTube has 557k subscribers. Well, we're on our way to 300k. Do you think we can get him? Maybe not this year, but 2 years? Possible. Are you playing the new Last Epoch season, Skull? We already finished. Last Epoch has never been main interest for me. So I pretty much played the new season for 2 days, and then I was done. That's just me and Last Epoch. Not too much crazy interest. More intrigued for Diablo, No Rest for the Wicked, Clair Obscure 33, Path of Exile 2. These kind of games, right? They really have my love. It's really what I'm looking forward to. So they're damn good. Pull the notepad out, by the way. Notepad. It's going to be Diablo 4 Season 8 Campfire. Always take notes. Howdy, Bootsy. How are you doing? Diablo versus PoT, which one is better, Isis? That is a very hard question. Both games have lacking endgame. One game is very casual. The other one is way harder. It's for you to decide what you enjoy more. When does Season 8 start? In 5 days, 29th April, 7 p.m. in the evening. I enjoyed Last Epoch, but it was way too easy for me to get a ton of satisfaction out of. That's kind of like my problem with Last Epoch too. I didn't die a single time playing through Last Epoch into the end game. I didn't struggle a single time. It was literally just a left-click blast fiesta, which can feel good. I mean, Diablo is also pretty much a left-click blast fiesta. There is some struggle jumping through the torment tiers that I enjoy. Like, my personal joy in Diablo right now is get to level 60, figure out how to get into torment 1, 2, 3, 4. Done. Right? Beat like pit 80, pit 90, pit 100. Done. And then do this for every class. Correct? That's really what gives me the most joy in Diablo. This moment where a new character with no armor, no resistances, and no damage reduction, when that character reaches level 60, and you're like, okay, how do I jump into Torment 1? What do I need to do for Torment 2? And so on. Lords of the Fallen 2.0 is really good. Lords of the Fallen 2.0 has really my interest. We are finishing Clair Obscur first, and then we actually do have Lords of the Fallen also on the list of things to do. I don't know, where do I even have Lords of the Fallen 2? I have it somewhere if I didn't refund it, because I was so disappointed by Lords of the Fallen. You don't actually want to believe how mad that game made me. I was severely disappointed. I don't know, I think I have it on Epic, maybe. Don't actually know where I even have it. But Expedition 33, highly recommendation. For the time when you're like waiting for the Diablo right now, as I am waiting for Diablo, correct? That's where I'm playing Clair Obscur. That's going to be my next 5 days to get ready for the launch. You've been watching the PoE 2 guides and found them really helpful. There's more to come, don't worry. We'll definitely take a little PoE 2 hiatus with the Diablo season, and then return for more PoE 2. Same, got a refund and bought it again for the 2.0. It's crazy good. I love that games are getting better. So there are two things I hate, chat. Okay, there's number one. Why don't we like the release state of games? Diablo 1 release was a disaster. Diablo 4 1.0 disaster. Lords of the Fallen 1.0 disaster. I'm happy that devs are willing to work on their games, but can we release games working again? For example, today I played Clair, Expedition 33, right? This game got released today and it just works. It's fantastic. I had 6 hours, 6.2 hours of gameplay. Not a single bug. Just love. Right? And then you have like games that are from way bigger companies and they release barely functional. Like Lords of the Fallen said they had 400 developers. Right? It was the biggest announcement that Lords of the Fallen had. They had this cute graphic up on release. Here, this is what they had. This is what Lords of the Fallen had up on release. 90 international developers, total 400 plus developers, 4 years in dev, studio, 13 classes, right? This was like what they put out. And it's like, great, you had 400 developers in your game release shit. Fucking fire, nerds. Well done. If your 400 developers did that, you might want to consider like getting new developers. No offense. Clair Obscur, by the way, is on the Battle Pass, just as an FYI. How many in GGG working on PoE 2? Doesn't GGG have like also 400 devs in total? How did you find Clair Obscur? 9 out of 10. By the way, chat, if the Campfire chat is too quiet, tell me. I'm going to pump up the volume. Might make it too loud. Just tell me when their voices are not adding up. If they didn't scrub their microphones again. Which could happen.
Hello, Diablo community. Welcome to another Diablo 4 developer update live stream. My name is Adam Fletcher, community director here for Diablo, and I am joined by some very familiar faces here, and they will introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Colin Feiner. I'm the design director for systems on Diablo 4.
Hey, I'm Derek Nunez. I'm the lead seasons designer.
That's their microphones. I can't make it louder.
Hi, I'm Charles Dunn. I'm a class designer working on the final design team on Diablo.
Awesome. Well, we have a full crew here today. We're actually going to be talking a ton today about Season 8. I know we had a Season 8 PTR live stream. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the same content that was in there just because some people may have not tuned in for that. But it's a quick recap of what Season 8 is. We announced it earlier this week on our blogs and on Diablo4.com. So if you haven't,
they did the same thing last time.
And stuff like that.
Two quiet microphones.
So I'm going to fight my earpiece this whole entire stream. I can already tell. So if you see me fidgeting with my ear, I apologize. But we are also going to talk about PTR changes that are coming to Season 8. We got a ton of feedback from the Season 8 PTR, and we want to make sure that we talk through all those specific items with the community. Likewise, we're also going to talk a little bit about some class updates and balance updates and PTR changes based off of that. And Colin's going to walk us
even on official, they don't have power yet. This is the official stream, Blue.
Diablo 4. We'll do a quick overview on Reliquaries, which is a new system that will start with Season 8 and be permanent going forward. And then, of course, we will round it up.
This is maximum turned up. You don't get it louder anywhere.
We'll jump right in, straight into Season 8 content. So, Derek, do you want to talk to us a little bit about Season 8 with Belial returning?
Yeah, absolutely. So Season 8, Belial Returns, as the continuation of the Age of Hatred, where Mephisto is walking the land of Sanctuary, creating the perfect opportunity that Belial, the Lord of Lies and one of the great evils, has been waiting for to make his resurgence back into the land, to continue his never-ending plan to plunge the denizens of Sanctuary into the realm of lies, where he maintains sole dominance over perceptions of reality. So not a great demon that you want kind of like roaming around Sanctuary, but throughout the course of the season, we'll be meeting a couple of new allies that will be joining our little ragtag group here. So first up is, drumroll, there you go, Saina. On the left here is a retired Visurai mage.
They can't even bounce the stream audio.
You meet right at the beginning of the Season 8 quest line. She kind
Content creation is hard.
To all like the weird happenings that are going on in Sanctuary at this time, and that her suspicions are that Belial's behind it. Spoiler alert, it's called Season 8, Belial Returns, so she ends up being...
The microphones are distorting.
Belial has infiltrated Sanctuary.
I'm actually going to pause you really quickly, Derek.
Oh, sure.
I just want to make sure our production team can hear it, or may be adjusting some volume, because I think some people in chat are not able to hear. So if we're good, okay, we're good. All right, sorry.
Oh, sweet.
Go right ahead.
Your microphones are distorting. Oh my god.
Belial Returns, if you missed that. Yeah, so on the left here, Saina is a ex-Vijari mage who clues you in to these odd happenings that are going on in Sanctuary, and she suspects that Belial is behind it. Again, kind of spoiler alert, he is, because Belial returns and he's back in Sanctuary. You'll also be getting acquainted with Jarius on the right here, who claims to be a former Cathedral of Light Knight, who kind of throughout the course you find that he's kind of dealing with his own kind of internal struggles and past traumas. So collectively, this ragtag group will be engaging in kind of
didn't even make the volume louder.
Chase, race against time to put a stop
Off to a good start.
Before he's allowed to.
We all knew this. This is nothing interesting.
A single like shred of power back in Sanctuary.
No, don't worry. I told them on the creator
players
Discord
who
chat.
Know Belial and kind of his past works from Diablo 3 specifically. Belial likes to work in the shadows and infiltrate society and kind of manipulate again from behind the scenes. So fans might know already what kind of dangers.
We haven't actually seen the quest line.
Even allowed to regain
In the
full
PDR.
dominance in Sanctuary. Like in Diablo 3, he overtook the city of Chaldean when he was impersonating Emperor Hakan II. He cast that entire city into economic and political turmoil. He even, kind of exiled the Iron Wolves, the once, kind of highly regarded guardians of Chaldeum, into, out of the city.
You play much of last season, every single class to
the
endgame.
current exiled, disgraced militia group that they are now in the events of Diablo 4. So if you happen by the Iron Wolf encampment, just give them a pat on the back. It wasn't their fault. It was all Belial's doing. But yeah, that's a high-level overview of kind of the quest line that we'll be embarking on that reintroduces Belial permanently into the world of Sanctuary. And with that, that's all the new stuff that we did not cover in the previous stream, but we have the blog posts out and all that kind of stuff. But I want to cover the stuff that kind of retread some things that we covered before that went into the PTR and kind of end each segment with the PTR learnings to kind of keep it structured and fresh here. So as we know, Season 8 is the season of bosses, more specifically lair bosses. So
far, nothing new. This is all just recap.
Updating it with new mechanics and hitting it with a whole bevy of quality of life updates. So again, as a bit of a recap, first and foremost, as far as new bosses are concerned, we have our buddy Belial here in Supreme form joining the very tippity top of the lair boss ladder. He's the new, biggest bad ladder, the most toughest, the most rewarding, and he's overlooking.
I do like Belial's art.
The rest of the bosses.
He's a baddie.
And also bringing a couple of new buddies to join the party. First up is Urvar from our Vessel of Hatred expansion, where he is joining the bottom rung of the ladder, tier 1 boss, and he's also.
They made some changes to the seasonal area. They did. I promise, Jay.
The Harbinger of Hatred, who is
I'll show you
the second rung of the ladder. So again, collectively, we have new boss roster additions of Belial in his Supreme form at the top. Harbinger.
Belial looks dope. He has a cool boss fight area too.
Guarding
this guy too, the Harbinger of Hatred.
So collectively, these are all the new bosses.
Urvar, a bit boring.
These are the ones that we actually had in the PTR, so I'm excited to kind of share some updates we've made since then. But that is not it for Belial stuff. We also have Belial in his smaller form, as we might know for players who play the PTR, that he is now kind of haunting and stalking the lair boss ladder just through and through. So again, defeating any of the lair bosses has a percent chance to trigger a surprise small Belial ambush spawn to kind of give you double the loot, double the fun. So yeah, that's again kind of a bit of a recap of the lair boss updates, the rosters that we had to the system. And
I don't think this was necessary because everyone that's watching this stream
we had from that. So again, first up, we had
knows
all the bosses in there, and we gathered a bunch of great feedback over kind of just a general tuning. We also updated all of the existing lair bosses with new abilities and whatnot. So I guess the first and foremost, kind of like change that we made since the PTR is just refine the balance on the Supreme form of Belial. We had some feedback and also felt it ourselves that he wasn't hitting as hard as he could or kind of representing his proper status on the ladder. So he has been buffed up quite tremendously and also received a few new tricks up his sleeve. Additionally, all of the lair bosses themselves have received, again, refined some of their attack mechanics to cut down on some of the one-shots that we were seeing, and just generally, general balancing to get them more representative of the respective tier that they kind of belong in.
Yeah, we kind of overcorrected on the damage in PTR just to test out. We had removed the stacking debuff that the lair bosses had done, and it was just sort of up to us in terms of what attacks actually applied that debuff.
Common 4 bosses used to actually be absolute menaces in the PDR, so that's fixed.
For PTR, and we've since pulled back on some of the one-shots there.
Yeah. When Season 8 launches proper, all the bosses should be feeling much more appropriate with
G4 is getting harder,
tiers,
yes.
and also
harder.
Appropriate for the rewards that they give, for the effort that players are putting into that journey to get to the top.
Yeah, definitely. I think we also sort of took a look at the material tuning and the overall reward of a lot of the lair bosses from the PTR. So in general, we're taking an approach where globally, sort of just across the game, like when you kill elites and things like that, we're bringing the materials, material drops are being reduced, but we're actually buffing the materials from the specific activities that you need to do to actually gain these materials.
Right. Not harder, just slower. That's harder.
Look at the boss drops actually in totality from PTR, and we've buffed it. So a good example now is that Supreme Belial is actually going to drop 2 Ancestrals as opposed to the 1 from PTR. And we're just really sort of trying to chase after the philosophy of the bosses are something that you're going to do periodically. It's going to be a big challenge, but they're going to be more rewarding than they were on PTR. And we think that that's a better place to be in as opposed to like the hour-long chain farming that you were doing in the previous seasons of these bosses.
Yeah, we really like encouraging this like diversity of endgame activities where you're doing lots of different activities that feed you into the boss ladder, and then fighting these bosses, taking them down and looting them is really a high moment that you get every once in a while.
This micro is very
really
distorty.
want, oh, you're just going to chain bosses nonstop and that's all you do. We really want to encourage that diversity of endgame activities.
Yeah, and just to make the spread a little bit better, if you think about Season 7, you might, for example, want Fists of Fate. So you'd only fight Beast and Ice, and that's the only boss you'd ever do. So what we've done actually, and this was in the PTR, but I just wanted to cover it because I think it's an important note, is now all the bosses half and half split their loot. So half is targeted, half is global. So that means you still have a reason to do all of the bosses. And that just makes experiencing the variety of activities that we have in Diablo 4 just a little bit more rewarding. There's always a boss at the end journey of any given activity in the game.
Yeah, and with that, it's a great thing that Belial got buffed up in his drops too, because as we recall, for those who play the PTR, you can actually target farm the specific, mimic the specific lair boss loot that you want him to kind of drop for you.
That's exactly right.
So cool, yeah, that's a bit of a recap and some of the PTR findings, and let's jump into kind of covering the next section here.
New stuff,
which
please.
is the
Show me.
lair keys. So again, for those who played the PTR, you experienced that we've changed up entirely the full summoning and reward flow of the lair boss system. So all of the first foremost one is that all of the bosses are now free to summon, and the items that were formerly known as the summoning items to summon them up are now living a new life and role as lair keys. I think we have a bit of a graphic here to kind of show.
Yeah, I really like this change of making the bosses free to summon. It lets you really test.
This
your
is how it
build
works now,
against
chat.
these
You don't
bosses,
have to
because we are, like,
pay to summon anymore.
ramping the difficulty, right?
You pay
The
for
initiate
loot.
lair bosses a little bit easier to take down, and they
Okay.
definitely ramp up in difficulty as you go up
different.
that ladder. And so if you're not sure, like, hey, am I able to take on this boss? Get it in the torment tier that you're in. You kind of have to. You can get in there with no investment, right? You're not going to commit your resources and then find out, oh, this boss is way too hard for me. You can go and you fight them, and then if you're able to take them down, you can use those to unlock the loot. And I think that's just a much better user experience all the way through.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of, one of the, again, kind of a reminder here with this nice, very fancy chart, looks gorgeous, is just kind of streamlining how players gain access and kind of climb the ladder. So as we might recall from the PTR, we reduced the total number of lair keys required to open the horde chest that the bosses now drop upon death. From 2 to 1, they stack up to 99, and one of the neat things is kind of like encouraging players engage in a wide variety of bosses is all the initiate initiate tiered lair bosses will not just drop the associated key for the next boss that they're kind of linked to, but they'll also, all of them can drop a Stygian Stone, which is also living a new world that it can be crushed.
And the Stygian
to
Stone
turn
is
into
now
lair
a
key
free boss loot for any
of the
greater lair boss.
bosses. And again, as I mentioned before, any of the initiate or greater lair bosses has a chance to get the surprise Belial ambush, which is the key to get the Betrayer's Husk to loot his supreme forms, his supreme forms of horde. So yeah, again, all roads kind of like lead to Belial. And again, kind of this is a recap here. We have the full flow in action that you can just kind of remind yourself here.
And now let's talk about Apparition
I think we
Zones.
got some gameplay, I believe.
There you go.
Yeah,
So again, here we are with the summoning pedestal. Again, no materials required for the cost, and we're going to summon up the Harbinger of Hatred here. Again, our new tier 2 lair boss. And
Who's
we
actually
don't
quite
wanna
fun to fight
spoil
against.
the mechanics of this really kind of cool fight, but players who played in the PTR got to experience it, and we're just going to jump ahead here to opening up the horde and getting the loot.
Yeah, and I think something you might notice is that we've actually tuned a lot of the material costs on the chest. So in PTR it was actually 4, now it's 3. So we've reduced the cost of opening the greater lair boss
there's
chests.
more key
I
loot
also
general
wanna acknowledge,
outside.
Like this definitely is a nerf to chain farming. That's something that I think has been a result of this change. And frankly, I think that's something that feels a little bit more appropriate to the overall game. We didn't like that how you could sort of just drop into any party and get a bunch of uniques for free. We feel like you need to work for some of the loot in Diablo, right? If we don't have you do some challenges and work for things, the reward isn't as sweet, right? It's sort of like walking that fine line between just challenging enough and just rewarding enough that it feels right, and not too slow that it feels like a slog, or not too easy that it just feels pointless. Like, why do we even have this in the game? So to sort of compensate that, that's why we've done a bunch of buffs to the overall loot of these lair bosses from the PTR. So again, like Belial is dropping 2. We've increased the just baseline uniques. That
Rotas
drop
were
off the
great.
lair
No,
boss
Rotas were
swords,
horrible.
in addition to Belial sometimes showing up and actually doubling your loot. So we think this strikes a better balance for social party play as well as solo players. And overall, we think this is just a better and healthier journey to actually getting to more power. You actually have to work a little bit more for it.
Yeah, you kind of covered in previous, like the a general kind of spread of the PTR updates we've done since, but one of the feedbacks we got from kind of like the new loop and flow of the Horde and the summoning material was that players felt that there was a bit too long of a delay before they can get back to the boss. So would you like to take the honors of this really cool update?
Sure. So we had this wait time. It was essentially for parties to go back to town and maybe manage their loot. It was about 20 or 30 seconds, but 20 or 30 seconds in Diablo is a fucking is an eternity. So we took it out essentially like how we've mitigated is if the party has all opened the chest, we'll just skip the timer, and that includes solo. So if you just open it up,
That's
we'll just
better.
skip the timer.
Because you had to wait until you could
you're
resummon the
back to
boss
blasting.
again
So
if you wanted to farm him in a row.
Yeah, so the next bit here was the Apparition Incursions that, again, this is a new seasonal. Everything I just covered there is all the permanent updates to that we're introducing to Diablo 4 within Season 8. But back to some of the seasonal fun stuff. Players who engage in the PTR might recall that we introduced the Apparition Incursions, which is a
They were
fast-paced
horrible in bad
boss
chat. Let's
rush
see what they
event
do.
Where players will be going through, kind of like blasting through hordes of Belial's apparition monsters to fight through some bosses and kind of ultimately go into a final showdown against him. And I think we have some the footage to check out here with it as kind of a bit of a refresher. So again, this is an open world.
You can see,
activity
Chad,
that is pretty
the
much up
apparition has now
24/7.
a whisper.
The kind of goal for this is that
They didn't
players
have
would,
whispers
hop
before.
on the train, blast through some bosses, collect some of your first boss powers, and then
This makes
fight
them
Belial.
finally worth it.
But I do want to cover some of the. Again, this is meant to be kind of a very fast-paced, streamlined, simple
Yep.
event.
It's
that is
good.
meant to
This is
kind of
great. This is not good.
mix
This is
in with
great.
the
This
wider
makes them
pantheon,
desirable
level
to
of
do.
activities that we have. So I do want to cover some of the PTR updates that we've made since then that should have this sit a bit more cleanly into kind of where
Should
it
bring
should
back
be
the
fitting
Ravens. They
within
should.
the level of activities. So the first bit from this, as far as the PTR is concerned, is we've rebalanced the
See
role
there, a whisper.
a bit
You gained that
of
for clearing the apparition.
what's it called? The Apparition Incursion. All these names. The Apparition Incursion. So one of the feedbacks that we got from the PTR was that there was some concern over its long-term reward and whatnot. So the first thing that we've updated since then was introduce a Whisper Bounty. Now, so every now and again, you get the Whisper Bounty, and that's kind of like a call to action to come back to the boss train and get those whispers. As far as the balancing is concerned, one of the primary roles that we kind of saw in the PTR for the Apparition Incursion is one, giving you your first batch of magic grade boss powers, but also earning the Spectral Ash that you need to level them up. So there was definitely some feedback that we felt and received that getting enough Spectral Ash through the Apparition Incursion is a bit of a slog. Like it requires too much of the player's attention or time rather, and it just is not representative of the amount of time that we necessarily want players to feel like they have to invest into just playing the Apparition Incursion. So, one, we've reduced the Spectral Ash requirements to upgrade your magic and I think rare grade boss powers, so you need less of it. But we've also buffed the amount of Spectral Ash that you get from the lair bosses. So
Thank you.
Collectively, the goal for this is that when you log into Season 8, the Apparition Incursion is there for kind of the new novelty to get you your powers, kind of get you acclimated to
This is
earning
huge.
Spectral Ash, but it's not necessarily there to dominate your full attention. we want you to engage in the wider pantheon again as level up activities. So we want you to do Apparition Incursions, take a break and do the Hell Tides and Nightmare Dungeons, and kind of experience the variety of the content to better set you up for when you enter the Torment tiers, where we're really expecting players to do all the Torment stuff and engage with the lair bosses to really amplify their boss power collections and leveling them up.
Yeah, we really made a lot of these changes from PTR to position it more to help level you pre-Torment, pre-endgame. So we boosted the XP through the Whispers. We also added XP to the bosses that you'll kill in those events. And we're also upgrading some of the early boss powers. We really want to position this in a place where it's sort of a fast track through the leveling experience, and it's a place to go. And we want there sort of to be a handoff to Torment in the end game, where you, like you said, you have to sort of start to do other activities in the game. Something we saw from Season 7 that we kind of want to address and change for this season to see how it feels is Season 7 headhunts just dominated the entire game from start to finish.
Yes,
and it
because
felt
they
like
were
there
so
wasn't really a
good.
transition to an end game or anything more meaningful or wider. The game sort of shrunk, we felt like.
No, you need a key for the boss loot, not to do the bosses.
Right, yeah, and we sort of tuned the reputation and like the sort of headhunt currency that you needed a little bit too aggressively in terms of needing you to actually play through that too much. So we're taking a different step or a different approach here.
Yeah, and that's where the Apparition Incursions are, like definitely not intending for it to kind of dominate your full attention again. It's there as kind of like that fun activity to get you going, and also when you do graduate into the Torment tiers,
so you can do the boss and get no loot if you don't have the key. Yes, but you can test if you're able to kill them.
Every now and again when it's super valuable for you. All right, cool. So the next bit here is I want to talk about the boss powers that we had.
Okay, because they
the PTR.
sadly
Again, as kind of
nerfed them a lot.
quick
So
recap
let's see
here.
what they did with the boss powers.
Through the season, early quest beat, you kind of gain the ability to steal the powers of targeted bosses across Sanctuary's content. This is 24 of them in total, starting off with the Apparition bosses, then the world bosses, and then the lair bosses, Lilith, and then Belial, who gets 2 powers for himself because it's his season and he wants 2 powers for himself. So who are we to say no to him? But yeah, I think we have some things to kind of recap some of the powers here. So here's the boss power screen, and as kind of a recap here, each of the powers have 2 sides to it, a main and a modifier side. You can slot one main side, which is actually
They used to absolutely overscale,
do the full expression.
but sadly
of that
they
signature move,
nerfed them a
whether it
bit.
be the Lilith Wave Blast or the Duriel Burrow, which we'll probably see in a second here. But you can also, every boss power also has a side B, the modifier side, which allows you to further customize and augment your total expression of, being the boss, essentially. We like to kind of call it like customizable, boss powers and stuff. So again, this is the Lilith Wave Blast that you'll get from the first time kill of defeating
That's the Duriel Burrow, which I don't like at all.
This is the Duriel Burrow, which would be a lot of fun. This one procs off of the Evade, so really fun for kind of the twitchy mobile builds. Also just kind of fun just to see a big bear burrow under the...
Yeah, sneaky werebears, huh?
Yeah.
And this one that's super easy to miss is the Wandering Death Laser Beam.
What is it? Where is it? I don't see it.
But I don't see it at all.
Oh, I think
Gary,
that little
many
blue
people will do the bosses without the keys. Yeah, but
we did.
you understand
that
after
is
one
of the,
time.
one of the,
Pretty
one
simple.
Of the big, groundbreaking updates from the PTR was that we did do some adjustments to the powers, visual effects and whatnot, like bringing the beam a little bit closer so it feels not so detached from the character, especially the melee builds. It kind of felt fine for like the the casters. That kind of feels like you're like shooting beams out from your hand. It looks great for those, but some of the melee builds, it kind of felt a little bit disjointed where you're a whirlwind barb and then kind of like a detached like beam coming across. We did bring those in, and I think this kind of sets up. We received a ton of feedback about just the general balance of
so
how
far the
much
only
of
thing
your
we
total
learned
player's
is
power expression should be pulled in
that
from the
apparitions
boss
have
powers
whispers
versus your actual build itself. So
That's
this is
it.
where I get to hand the
Yeah, I love to talk more about kind of the balancing we saw from these boss powers on the PTR, which is like so valuable as developers for us to get that feedback and hear see players testing these powers and these builds and really like letting us know what they feel about it. It's really valuable to have that testing. specifically in regards to these boss powers, what we really like about introducing new powers every season or in this season is how they really like tinker with your build. You say like,
you set
hey,
new
I'm
powers every
playing
season
this style of
because
build,
that's what's
and there's
happening
this
the
boss
next
power
3
that
seasons.
synergizes really nice with it. It adds a little wrinkle to the way you think about your character season over season, and we love that. That's really cool. One thing that we heard on the PTR for these particular powers is that they were more than just a wrinkle; they were your entire build, right? They were really overshadowing.
The keys
how much
are
damage
still the
output you were
standard
doing.
things,
And
living
you didn't really
steel and
feel
so
like,
on.
Oh, I'm a Dance of Knives rogue. You felt like you were a Wandering Death Chest Beam rogue that also happens to cast Dance of Knives every once in a while.
Well, we want you to be the boss, but not that much.
Maybe not quite that much. It was definitely a little too far on the scale of like, hey, let's make these powerful and impactful. It's definitely a fine line where we're trying to make sure that you notice them, you feel them, they are an important part of your build, but they're not your entire build. So we definitely swung a little too far there. And so as updates from the PTR, we looked at adjusting the scaling because these
I'm
powers
sad that they
scale
nerfed the
up
powers.
in
I liked
their
how
damage
OP they
output
were.
based on your Paragon level. So the more you're kind of getting up into that late game, you're raising your Paragon level, they're going to be kind of scaling with you because the rest of your damage is going up, and so we're increasing the damage there. On the PTR, they would previously scale with you all the way up to Paragon level 300, which is very difficult to reach. It's a long grind to get up there. Now we're capping them at Paragon 200, which we think is a much more reasonable place to expect players to kind of get to unlock that full expression of power. And even then, we've reduced the scaling amount, so it's not quite as high as it will be. We still expect them to be impactful to your build. We just don't want them to absolutely dominate everything else that you're doing.
Yeah, and this fits better. Like we sort of set up the Paragon in such a way where you can get most of what you want around Paragon 200, and the rest is sort of just gravy for people who just really want to push and grind. You're getting core stats, maybe some additive damage. You just wanted to sort of double down.
Don't happy. Some of the changes are good. I'm sad they it was the main boss power season, and now it's like boss powers are there.
Yeah. There were also a few specific powers that we decided to rework based on the way they were playing out on the PTR, specifically Andariel's Flaming Skull. The modifier on that one in the previous version was applying many burn effects. It actually made burning sorcerer builds way too
Trillions
powerful.
of damage.
Like,
Trillions.
40 pit tiers higher than they really should be. We like powerful effects, but 40 pit tiers higher than you would otherwise have was too much. So it's kind of been completely reworked here. It's still very valuable for dot-based builds, those damage over times, but it's just got more multiplicative damage rather than kind of this exponentially growing the way it was before. Similarly with Uravar's Lobbed Bombs, we updated the cooldown reduction on it. Previously it was granting just a flat amount of cooldown reduction. It says your ultimate was reduced by, I believe it was 5 seconds. As we'll talk about a little bit later, we found that we like that you get to spam your ultimates in some builds. That was just empowering it a little too easily. And so we've adjusted it to be a flat 15% cooldown reduction rather than that like flat amount of 5 seconds off on the ultimates there.
Yeah, and I think the spirit of a lot of this with the changes that we'll dive a little bit into in terms of making Torment a little bit harder and some of the changes to these boss powers is really like we want progression.
The new class in Good Season 8
and challenging and something that you can work towards.
It's
we
powerful.
really like when some of these effects just sort of short circuit
But it
that
has
entire
felt
journey and you slap it in and then now
too
you're in
weak
Torment 4
in
and
Season
the game is
7.
done. So it's really about trying to build that satisfying journey to becoming a god. Like we like that you can become a god and one-shot stuff, and Diablo is a power fantasy. That's what Diablo needs to do. But we don't like when it happens too frequently. Blink and you miss it.
Right.
Yeah, it really cheapens the experience. If you find one item or one power and like
Every death
game's
hates
over,
one-shots.
Now what do I do? Right?
If the player does them,
we feel like we
not if
fail
the
to
monsters
deliver on
do
that
them.
power fantasy if you get it too easily, like you would occasionally get with some of these other effects that we've adjusted.
Definitely.
Cool. Well, I think that wraps it up for Season 8 specific items related to Belials Return. Derek, I'm going to say thanks to Charles and Colin as well, though I'm actually about to throw it back over to Charles, but thank you for running us through that. Again, like all the changes that we're talking about from PTR, and just a reminder on what PTR is. PTR is our public.
So
test
far,
realm. That's
everything has
something
been
that
in the
we do
blog
before
post
the
they said,
actual
apart
season.
from the whispers
It's
on
an
Apparitions.
opportunity for people to really test things. It's kind
I
of
hope
like
we're
our
getting
form
more
of, like, early
from them.
access, you could say, where people can jump in, they can test specific things, and then we can make changes for when the live season actually hits. So there are going to be additional PTR changes that we're going to be talking about, because we're going to jump into classes again. I'm going to throw it back over to Charles, and Charles will talk a little bit more of all the class changes that are coming with Season 8, and of course,
Surprise me what the class changes are.
coming from PTR as well.
Yeah, of course. So let's talk about, just to carry on about some of the balancing philosophy around what we're looking at when we do these PTRs, specifically from the class balance side. We're often looking at a lot of the new items, the new builds, and the kind of the reworks that we've done to classes. Whenever we make a new season, we say, hey, we're going to target certain areas and like look at certain play styles of a class and really make sure those are hitting the mark. And so when we're looking at adjusting from the PTR to live, which is what we're going to talk about today, most of the changes are really targeted around the new content that's coming out, or the new builds we're trying to target and empower to make sure they're really hitting the mark. That's not to say we don't appreciate feedback about the entire class or any other skill. It's just that given the scope of what we're looking at from a PTR, we're trying to stay really focused on
I hope they
what
revert a
we,
lot of the
we
Necro
think will
changes,
have the highest
especially
impact on
regarding
the
Blood
actual
Wave
seasonal
and
release.
ultis
And
in
part of
general.
this is to sort of respect some of the players who I know you all enjoy, like theory crafting and building things up. We kind of want to make sure that that's like a stable thing that you can theory craft before a season launches. You get to see all the new changes, and we're just going to sort of fine tune the things that we've already talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't want to go, hey, here's a PTR, and then completely upheaval everything as we go to launch, right? We're just mainly looking at refining.
Next expansion,
what
we're
we
bring
kind of set
Paladin.
out to do in the season. Of course, what I'm going to be talking about for each class is really just a high-level overview of the adjustments we're making, not every single one in detail. In order to find out all that detail, you're going to have to check out the patch notes, which should be going live later today, right after this stream.
Yes.
All right, so let's hop into the first class, which will be Barbarian. So for the Barbarian, since the PTR, we really wanted to play up the Barbarian fantasy of hitting enemies with your weapons, right? Barbarians in the past have done a lot of Earthquakes and Dust Devils, and that's really cool and really fun, but it does lead to a little bit of a disconnect between how, the raw physicality of a Barbarian. And so with that in mind, Whirlwind in particular was one that was falling behind, and so it's got actually a really massive buff since PTR, about a 60% increased base damage, as well as upgrades to one of its upgrades that makes it the bleed that it applies is much more impactful now. And so really, if you're using Whirlwind for Whirlwind's sake, it's going to be much more impactful.
Okay.
Spend to win.
Absolutely, it's a really fun.
Would have been nice if you actually
Barbarian.
showed us
just
these
wasn't hitting the
buffs.
mark. Hopefully now, with all of these buffs, it'll be much closer to being that competitive build.
Do you know something?
Kind of
Sadly,
on
we
the flip
don't know
side,
anything about
we've
the
also
expansion.
adjusted Executioner's aspect. This is a
Last year I
legendary that
knew
was
something
really
about the
good for
expansion. This year,
Earthquake build,
so far
one of the
not.
primary scalers there. We have capped the scaling on that. Everyone knows Earthquake Barbarian was really good in Season 7. That's what I personally played. It was a ton of fun. It was awesome. Even on the PTR, after we made some adjustments, it was still kind of above that mark. And
still
we were
broken.
really
Earthquake
hesitant
Barb
to
was
let
still
the
broken.
exact same build, exact same play style dominate the meta for multiple seasons in a row. We know that's you want variety, and we want to we don't want to like completely kill the build and take it off the map, but we just want to make sure that you don't feel obligated to play the exact same way season over season, because there's so many cool ways of playing classes.
They say they
and
don't
we
want to
just
kill
wanna
the
make sure
build,
that
but
that
they
is,
pretty much
the
killed the
case.
build.
So with that in mind, we're capping the scaling on that, which should hopefully keep Earthquake builds at an appropriate spot and not as dominant as they have been. And of course, we've got some new items coming in the season. These ones were tested on PTR, and we've made some adjustments to them as well, but they mainly target Mighty Throw. We did see that on the PTR. Mighty Throw was very mighty and was led to some really cool clips of people like one-shotting some of our late-game bosses, where you build up all your multipliers, Mighty Throw, and just kind of chunks their health total.
Lots of nerves.
Balances.
Balances.
A lot of fun. We love that play style. Just the
They just
exact
want you
number
to play a
tuning
certain
maybe
way
a bit
this
high,
season,
so we've brought
and it's
some of
not
that down.
Earthquake.
But we still think that it's going to be really compelling to play Mighty Throw next season. Let's take a look at some of those items I'm referring to here. You've got the Bane of Ajaden, which is going to, every 12 seconds, you Mighty Throw, and it deals a ton instantly. This was one part of that one-shot build. As well as Aspect of Delayed Extinction, really changes up how you think about Mighty Throw. You're no longer reducing its cooldown with cooldown reduction. You're actually just increasing its damage kind of multiplicatively. And so it really says, hey,
You throw now one Mighty Throw, and you make that one Mighty Throw go boom.
So we've got these new items, and so really look forward to seeing how
This is play-by-play pretty much the last Campfire chat. Sadly, yes.
All right, I think we got a little clip of this in action, right? It's just, it's still quite strong against a lot of these smaller enemies. With the triple Mighty Throw here, you're going to clear out the pack.
So far, this Campfire chat could have been a tweet.
All right, let's move on to the next class.
And I don't want to be harsh.
So Druid, the big change here since the PTR is a big buff to Earth and Might. This is the key passive for Earth-based Druids. And in the past, all it did was it granted you a bunch of resource and gave you guaranteed critical strikes. We do know that as you're getting into the late game, you're probably getting close to maxing out your critical strike chance anyway, and so it never really found a lot of footing in late game builds. Because of that, it was kind of redundant with a lot of the problems you're already solving. So now we've added an additional multiplicative damage for your critical strikes when Earth and Might procs, and so we think that's going to be really compelling to make it competitive with other key passives. Additionally, Druid is definitely the class that has struggled the most with early game resource. So we made a couple adjustments there to just
makes Druid feel awful in the beginning.
A little bit smoother, some buffs to some of the resource generation. And with the Earth and Might buff, also comes a buff to Gathlin's Birthright. This is the new unique helm that really encourages you to stay in human form. We have some other unique helms that say, hey, be a werewolf all the time, or be a werebear all the time. Human form Druid, the kind of non-shape-shifting one.
I really want to try out human form Druid, but I heard it's not so good.
Let's take a look at it here. That empowers you while you're in human form. If you're doing nature magic and
you get more critical strikes,
you're going to build up to Anima of the Forest. And when you do that, it grants you both the Perfect Storm and the Earth and Might key passive for a time.
Kind of like
and
it.
Of course,
kind
of
cute.
Being buffed up means Gathlin's Birthright is buffed up even more. We also increased the duration of the effect. It previously on the PTR was only 10 seconds, so it had a little bit lower uptime. And we just think going up to 15 seconds means you're in this empowered state a bit more often. And it also stacks up against bosses. We know that fighting bosses is going to be an important part of the season, and so this is just much more usable since the PTR in those situations.
Why human form when you can be Beowulf? Well, you could be a nature magic caster, raining down lightning strikes at the opponent.
Nature magic skills in human form.
Maybe.
Storm Strike fits the bill there, and so this is going to be a
That's
nice
like
piece
some
of
good
the
Storm
puzzle
Strike
style
fun.
of build moving forward.
I don't think it's going to be overwhelming, but it could at least be
Gathlin's Birthright
fun.
in action. We've got your buff bar with your buffs active as you kind of get into combat and are doing these nature magic critical strikes.
We have been werebear, we've been werewolf, so why not just human form and then hold down your lightning strike button and you do this like bob 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 bob.
Really make a strong moment of power. You see all those buffs active on your bar down there. All right, next up we've got the Necromancer. So for the Necromancer,
surprise me.
The big story of Necro on the PTR, and I guess from last season, was that Bloodwave was pretty good. It was an okay skill.
They ruined Bloodwave. Let's see if they've rebuffed it.
The progression into the end game, maybe a little too good. So on the PTR, we did take several big swings at Bloodwave. We really wanted to make sure we did not kind of repeat that situation. We do think we overswung just a little bit, so there's a little bit of a numeric buff up to Bloodwave just to make sure, because we don't want to completely eviscerate and kill these builds outright.
Yep.
We want to just bring them back to a healthy spot. And so with that, we've kind of compensated Bloodwave a little bit since the PTR.
They really ruined it.
One of the other big changes we made on the PTR was a rework to Blood Lance. Blood Lance was one of our best AoE-based core skills in the past. But it was like pretty terrible at single target situations. And so we did a little bit of a rework where it gained some single target viability at the expense of AoE. And we definitely think we swung a little too hard and killed its AoE a little too much.
Yep.
So
it made it really good on single target.
Always spreading, which helps it to ramp up a little bit faster in those AoE situations. So we think that'll kind of bring it to a more healthy balance compared to where it was in terms of the AoE and single target balance.
I do think still
finally, we also made Vampiric Curse is now actually a curse. Turns out it's in the name. It just made sense. That's particularly relevant for the new unique item. We can take a look at that, the Sanguivar Blade of Zir. This is the new unique item in the season that causes your summons, your skeleton warriors and mages and golem, to apply Vampiric Curse to enemies. And
Problem is Army of the Dead is nerfed, so this is still useless.
And when you cast Army of the Dead, it's going to unleash the Vampiric Curse. We think it's a really cool playstyle. Of course, the curse now interacts with all of your curse effects, like damage to cursed enemies, or when you apply a curse, do a thing. It all works with that. And of course, this item itself was buffed up a few times since the PTR as well. Its multiplicative scalar at the bottom has been increased, as well as some of the affixes on it have gotten some improvements as well to really make sure that this style of play really hits the mark.
I mean, Zanguvar get buffed now.
Additionally, we've got a new legendary aspect, the aspect of service and sacrifice.
So it might be
I
worth
really
it
love the
finally.
playstyle of this. It causes your skeleton warriors to explode on death,
it does more
and
damage
they
with
lose health while in
souls.
combat. So they kind
So you
of
can
are,
store 20 souls, 20 times
expendable,
25.
Army fodder, while your mages
500% more damage
resilient
on
and
Army
kind
of the
provide
Dead.
a constant backline. Your
Still not
summoning
a lot,
warriors
but
can
it's
go run in-
500% more.
Run in and die. Provides an interesting little difference in play style. And this one also was just a little bit under the mark on the PTR, and so we've
So it
increased
could be
the
good.
broad damage output that the skeleton warriors are doing.
Still doubt it.
Since PTR.
But it could be
I
fun.
think we got a clip of some of these in action, right? So you got your warriors here, they're running up. Even though they're not taking too many hits, they do eventually die in combat and do a little explosion to clear out. If you stacked up all of your Vampiric Curse, when you cast Army of the Dead, you just get this like chain of these skeletons spawning out from you that run out and also
Thing
kind
is,
of contribute
consuming
to the
corpses
damage
gives
output
you
of that
souls.
Army of the Dead.
So in a boss fight, if
I
you
think it's really
use a
cool,
golem
and,
with
adds
fell
a
gluttony,
bigger moment when you press
you
that
would
Army of
consume
the Dead,
corpses.
effect. We also
That
got
will
a
work.
bit on Bloodlance. I kind of alluded to it earlier here. This is the updated tooltip. It'll now always spread its Lanced effect, that additional debuff that causes its damage to arc to other enemies. On the PTR, it would only spread if you had already lanced them. Now it'll always do it. It's kind of always a 2-target cleave effect. So that should just help with kind of ramping up its damage. And then if you're hitting somebody who already has the debuff, it deals double damage, and that really helps its bossing, that single target capabilities.
Poke Belial in the eye.
Oh yeah, poke him in the eye many times. Let's take.
One of his many
Still don't think it's going to make
a lot of-
Bloodlines super good.
a lot of
You need too many uniques to make
Absolutely.
Bloodlines good.
Let's take a look at the clip here real quick, right? So even as you're going into the pack, it's just you're going to get that lance debuff, that like red glow with the kind of arcing lines between enemies, just going to ramp up that much faster, and really helps you clear out packs just a little bit quicker than
Definitely not making Necro,
than it was before.
I think Necro will be okay, but it
All
will
right,
not
let's
be the
move
top
on
class
to the
anymore.
Rogue. On the Rogue, there are a couple adjustments. One was a change to the way Shadow Clone and its rank 5 upgrade worked. Previously, when you got Shadow Clone to rank 5, when you cast it, it became a Cutthroat skill, which was a little weird and unintuitive in terms of like what did it interact with? Did it count as a Cutthroat skill for various effects? We decided to kind of clarify that and just make Shadow Clone always baseline Cutthroat skill. Which means anything that your Shadow Clone like mimics from you. So if you cast, Penetrating Shot and your Shadow Clone mimics it, the Shadow Clone's version counts as a Cutthroat skill.
Okay.
For any kind of modifiers or damage bonuses.
Sad for
you might
Bloodsurge.
have.
Bloodsurge is still working, but they
just
haven't
kind of
done
nice little
anything
quality of
meaningful
life
with it
there.
in a while. So yes, it's sad.
Death Trap was kind of the big story of Rogue, I think, on the PTR, where Death Trap was really good. It was a little too good. It had a number of reworks come into it, and specifically on Scoundrel's Leather unique, that caused you to teleport to the position where you're throwing your Death Trap, which was really cool and really fun, but ultimately it meant that the build kind of solved too many problems right away. Just like we had talked about previously with Bloodwave and some other builds, it was a little too easy to do everything. You had damage, you had cooldown reduction, you had teleport and mobility, you pulled in enemies with Death Trap. And so with that in mind, and it was also a little too easy to get to that state where you had 0 cooldown on it.
Yeah, especially with the
I don't think anyone ever complained about that.
Absolutely. So we talked about the Ur-of-Our bombs and how we're adjusting that away from flat reduction. We also just increased the base cooldown on Death Trap by a little bit and reduced some of its sources of cooldown reduction. We still anticipate once you're really getting into that hyper late game and your build's super optimized, you get the right masterworking and tempers, you're still going to get to that state. It's just going to take a little longer to get there. It's not quite as trivial.
Yeah,
to be,
right now the
chain
way
spamming
they're
that.
saying it, it sounds
And
like
also
we're
have
removing
removed
some of the fun.
teleport
I do
from
think
Scoundrel's
most of these
Leather when
changes
you
are good
cast it.
changes. They just don't
That
sound good.
was something that kind of just put it over. It checked too many boxes, and we know that Rogue is already one of our most mobile classes. You've got dash, you got shadow step, you got plenty of other ways of moving around the battlefield that we felt like this was a little too much for this build in particular. So we've done a number of things to tune that back, and we think it'll still be a very strong build. We just want to make sure that it doesn't really trivialize the game like it was on the PTR.
Yeah, I'm still going to play this.
Absolutely, it's still going to be a great build, I am sure.
I play only Rogue lately. I mean, I have a Rogue tattoo, so it's like it makes sense. Things I did not expect to hear on a stream, but yeah, you call it. But yeah, I plan on.
I'm gonna get those Berserk skins
Nice.
for the Necro.
Well, there's also some new items that talk to the other trap in Rogue's kit, Poison Trap, the Bands of Icarus Rose. We can take a look at that here. This is one of the problems with Poison Trap before was that it really struggled to fit into a lot of builds. It didn't really synergize with a lot of your effects like combo points or your other class mechanics. And so now with the new unique, Poison Trap is going to deal.
I mean,
all
so
its
far,
damage,
nothing of this
kind
is
up
new
front, right over the
still,
first 3
right?
seconds, rather than a
Apart from
long
the
9-second
balances.
duration. So you really get much higher DPS, benefits from its upgrades, which are even more empowered, and it benefits from all.
This
of
could have all
your
very
class
much be
mechanics,
just
your
in the
combo
blog
points, inner
post.
sight, or preparation. So if you're playing,
I'm
Poison
just
Trap,
like
this
not
is just,
sure
like,
about the
really
use
makes
of
it
this
a
Campfire
marquee
chat so
skill,
far.
and I'm really excited
terms
to
of what
see,
they're telling
the kind
us.
of builds that emerge with this new unique. Similarly, the legendary aspect of contamination adds a little bit of an extra burst to it, which can increase your poison damage and rewards you for building up a more critical strike chance. I think we've got a clip of this in action as well. And this is like probably my favorite clip in here because you just kind of put the enemy to sleep. He just falls down and stays down because one of the upgrades on Poison Trap knocks down an enemy. And with Bands of Icarus Rose, it's going to increase that knockdown timer. It's going to double that knockdown timer. And so it can really really put enemies to sleep. And if you got enough DPS,
I mean,
you're gonna
200k
shed
damage,
right
pretty
through 'em.
sad. Kind of rookie numbers, sir.
All right, let's move on to the sorcerers. On the sorceress, there's a number of bigger changes here. The biggest one probably being the rework to Avalanche, which was one of the key passives that talked to frost skills. Previously, it was a lucky hit effect that would give you a free cast. We did not really find that super compelling or super empowering. So we'll take a look at that in just a moment. The new reworked version. We also smoothed out Familiar, the Conjuration skill. We smoothed out its animation quite a bit.
That's good because the
there's a lot of feedback,
Familiar animation
which
was weird.
Around it. It just didn't feel right to press. The game feel there. You know, you press the button, you're like, it took too long to come out. Your character was kind of rooted in place for a little too long. So we've sped that up a little bit so it feels much smoother to weave into your play style.
Yeah, it felt really sticky with the amount of charges we gave you too. You start with 3 and you're just sort of stuck there.
Yeah, you're like, I want to cast all 3, but then it was like I felt like I was just being rooted in place for to cast the skill. So we've definitely updated that.
Just let the character move while he's
the
casting.
new items
Strafe
talk about
cast,
ice
like
shards
Path of
quite a
Exile
bit,
2,
and so
you know?
We'll take a look at that in a moment. First,
Just
let's
saying.
look at the Avalanche rework. This has kind of been simplified down a little bit with previous lucky hit and some bonus casts.
what does Avalanche do
It's
now?
just going to always affect all of your frost skills. They're going to cost less mana and deal increased damage. And then if you apply vulnerable to the enemies, you're going to get even more bonus. And so
This is
this
actually pretty good.
Really just right
More
along the
damage
lines of
and
what frost skills wants to be doing. It's really looking to.
I mean, that's just 85% more damage done.
When you had like some of the complexity in the previous version of Avalanche,
I guess why not?
We didn't really feel like it added that much to the gameplay, and so we looked at where we can just empower the build, simplify it a little bit in terms of gameplay, because we didn't really feel like the old version was.
This is
was
really
hitting that
simple,
mark.
right? Cost
Yeah,
less,
it's a true
do more.
frost,
Thank
true
you.
cold, which we haven't really seen too much of.
Right, absolutely. Next, we got the new items, the Hail of Verglass. This is the new unique helm that is really potent for your Ice Shards build. Ice Shards are going to be spreading out and dealing a spread of damage rather than just a single straight line. It kind of helps with its AoE potential. You do more damage if you're hitting them with multiple Ice Shards, and of course you get
They
even
do
more.
want you to do an
So
Ice Shard
really,
build.
An interesting way to update the playstyle there. And Shivering Aspect is going to give you some more multiplicative damage based on how much you're chilling enemies, once again, playing into the cold builds, but also by how much you've staggered a boss. We know that this has been a pain point across all of the classes where some of these bonuses to crowd-controlled enemies don't work on bosses, and of course, being Belials Return with the Season of Bosses,
speaks a bit
really
for
wanna
a
make sure that
systematic
many
issue
of these effects
with
do
the
in fact
boss
work against
stagger
boss fights in a way that
and
just makes
aspects not
sense,
working.
rather than feeling like, oh, I'm a crowd control based build. Now I'm suddenly I lose out on so many of these bonuses against bosses. We don't really want that to be the case. That's not the kind of play style we want to encourage. Where you feel punished for taking on bosses, and so many effects like Shivering Aspect do work against bosses in addition to crowd-controlled kind of normal enemies. And we've also got
we stack too much staggered boss fights
just a
become meaningless.
side-by-side
Well, not in
comparison
Diablo
of
4,
familiars. So on the
because you
left, we got
can't stagger
before, you can see
infinitely.
how long it kind of takes you to cast all three and then to get moving afterwards. And on the right, the after version, much faster, much snappier animation, and you can get on the move.
If they
and
just had
continue
strafe
on,
casting like Path of
with
Exile
combat
2,
that
this
much
problem
quicker.
wouldn't exist.
It's going to feel a lot
Because you would
better to
just
play.
keep walking while you cast.
All right, and the final class, we've got the Spiritborn. So the Spiritborn, probably the biggest thing that we've updated since the PTR was a bug fix on the unyielding hits aspect. This is one of the most popular legendary aspects that Spiritborn players have been using. It increases your weapon damage, like your weapon,
Yes.
like raw damage just goes up. And so you would think, hey, that increases all of my damage output because everything is kind of based on your weapon. That was true for most cases, but there was a few interactions where it wasn't properly working, notably with the Eagle Spirit Hall bonus that would throw out the Quill Volley Feathers, and also with the new unique, the Sunbird's Gorget. It was not properly working there. So now it will be working. Now it's a really powerful multiplier to work into those builds, and we think that's going to help quite a bit to make sure those builds are competitive. We've also heard the feedback that basic skill builds have not really hit the mark, and so Sepizontek, that's the unique that really empowers those basic builds. We've given some numeric buffs there just to make sure that just give them that little bit of a bump to bring them up to par. And finally, wanted to highlight those new items and reworks that we were talking about, the Sunbird's Gorget.
Yeah,
let's take a look
that one
at
wasn't
this
good
new
enough,
unique
and I think it's still
amulet.
not good enough. There was a
This
lot
is
of
really
talk
cool.
about it.
It promotes a very alternative playstyle where you're all about spawning storm feathers, and as you pick them up, you spawn this firestorm around you that grows and intensifies the more storm feathers you pick up. So you really want to be spawning a bunch of them and then moving around and collecting them up. And it deals more damage, it grows in size, and the storm feathers and the firestorm benefit from all of your skill tags, all of your jaguar skills, your eagle skills, and the storm feather tag. Really a very cool alternative playstyle here. Rather than just casting basic or core skills, you're focusing on storm feathers instead. Additionally, we've got a new aspect to buff up the Rushing Claw skill, which really struggled to find its place.
Yeah, but that aspect
We've
was
also got a
weird
little bit
because
of
it
a
does
rework to
one of
Rushing
the
Claw,
4.
some of its upgrades that we'll show in a moment. First, let's take a video clip on the Sunbirds here. Right, you got your line of storm
that.
feathers all in a row. You go and you pick them up, and you get this cool little firestorm around you. And the more you pick up, the more you spawn, the stronger and bigger it gets, up to a cap, and it can really help with kind of that AoE damage to clear out packs.
Problem is you can't
I alluded a
maintain
little
the
bit to
duration
the
as far as I
Rushing Claw
understood,
rework.
so it's going to run
we've
out, and then you got to
got,
build it
the
up
two
again.
upgrades,
It's going to run
on
out,
the
you got to
skill
build
tree.
it
We've
up
got
again.
Invasive Rushing Claw. This is what was probably the most popular one that was previously being used, where when you run out of charges of it, you will consume 4 stacks of ferocity to kind of refresh the charges. In this case, you're kind of constantly spamming this button over and over again. It's really like your primary skill of your build. Now there's an alternative playstyle with Poised Rushing Claw, which gives it much increased maximum charges, but when you cast it, it does consume all of those charges. So those charges are no longer how many times can I cast the skill. It's really kind of a stacking damage multiplier, is how many charges. So if you have cooldown reduction or ways of reducing your cooldown, you're actually stacking up damage on a Rushing Claw, and it's going to hit a much larger area. So let's take a look.
Interesting, if you can-
We've got Poised Rushing Claw here. This is the one big hit, right? It hits
Cool.
3 times the area, clears right through a pack, but you can't hit it that often.
Yeah, you get a
Alternatively, you've got
wade.
Invasive Rushing Claws, which lets you kind of slice through the pack. You constantly have this available to you as it refreshes its cooldown, or you save up for this one big moment.
I like the
So
Poised
really
Rushing
interesting
Claw if you
that
can make it
two
more
different ways
frequent.
of playing the skill now.
Yeah, I love when we're able to actually
Right.
do that, where a skill can actually function.
Anything
in a
about
completely
Sorg,
different way. I think that's
Vasco?
some of the best
Avalanche
work that we have
rework.
on
The
our
key
skill.
passive is better now.
absolutely. I love just
pretty much
giving
it.
you alternative ways of playing it, like the same base effect.
We'll get
but
patch
just,
notes at the end of the
really
stream, so maybe
recontextualizing
we get
what
more
you're
info
looking for
there.
in itemization or in other legendary effects, or just in moment-to-moment gameplay. I think that's where some of our best best gameplay comes out.
Yeah, I think we want to be doing more of that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Charles, for walking us through all the class changes that are coming with Season 8, and of course the PTR changes that we kind of went over a few of them really quickly here. Again, everyone will be able to see this earpiece, guys. It's fallen off like 10 times, and when the camera's been on, there it goes. I'm going to fish for it for like 10 minutes. It's just gone. You can check out the patch notes immediately after this stream. We'll have it on Diablo4.com, and that is pretty extensive. It goes through every single thing that we've talked about, plus more that we couldn't fit into the stream because we'd probably keep you here for 8 hours if we just went over all the patch notes specifically. So make sure to check that out.
I
Of
want
course,
the patch notes.
with
You know, you should
a
just
new
post them
season
before the
comes a
Campfire
lot of
chat.
changes that are coming within the system
400
as
IQ.
well. And so, Colin, do you want to walk us through some of the big changes that we have coming?
Yeah, we cherry pick some things just to keep it quick. So I'd love to jump into the next slide, which definitely wasn't adjusted, but that's okay. I remember some of the things.
Okay.
So we removed Conduit Shrine just for this season. We heard
Woo,
feedback
Chad,
that
Conduit
maybe
Shrine
it
is
wasn't
gone.
the greatest of shrines in previous seasons. It was
Ancestor
actually a
Whisper
tease for
Cache is
Belial,
back.
who's
That's
just
good.
screwing you over. So we're just taking it
It's
up
not
on.
really a shrine.
Yeah, it's not
It's,
really a powerful thing. What if you just couldn't cast your skills for 15 seconds? So we removed it. We're going to take it offline. We're going to rework it. into
Does
something
Paragon
more
level
powerful and
carrying
better.
the next season? No,
So
in
look
April
forward to that in the
29th.
future. We also brought back the Ancestral Whisper Caches from Season 7. This is just sort of an example of things that we're trying to pull in from previous seasons that we think are working really well. I think it's going to pair nicely with the Apparition Incursion Whispers, so sometimes you're going to get a really badass cache out of it. Obel Gambler. What does that mean? So we've buffed the shit out of the Obel Gambler. So generally in Torment Plus, when you buy an entire inventory full of loot from the Gambler, at least generally one of them should be Ancestral, sometimes more. So it's going to be mostly legendaries that actually come out of the Obels. So I think it's going to be a
That's
pretty
good.
massive buff.
That's more aspects.
The second thing that's not listed here is that we've also made leveling glyphs easier from the PTR. So now you can actually level glyphs at like a 50 pit tier deficit. It's just out of chance. So if you're not able to get to pit tier 100, you're still able to grind through and eventually level those glyphs up. We think that this just is a little bit more forgiving, and it makes sure
Glyphs
that like, you
easier.
don't necessarily have to play an S tier build to actually
More
level up those glyphs
forgiving,
all the way,
no
which
pit
is gonna
100
take
needed. Did I
longer.
understand that correct?
And then the second thing, or I keep saying the second thing, the other thing that we've done is
Did I understand that
actually
correct?
didn't
No
talk
pit
about
100
this in the
needed
PTR,
to
but
make a
we
glyph
changed
100?
Tempering, and I just wanted to say because I think it's amazing. Tempering will remember the recipe now, so you're able to just sort of hit it.
Nice.
I think
Instead of
that's
searching through the list and then, like, going
Yeah,
back over
yeah.
every single time.
yeah, it was another Belial.
You said
yeah.
50
Yeah.
level
He wanted
difference,
you to
so
go
I
through
can
the
do a
flow
pit
again.
50
So,
to
yeah,
level
we've made
the
that a lot
rune to
better.
100,
So I
as
think
far as that
that
sounded.
covers a lot of the sort of cherry-picked cool things that I thought was worth talking about.
Yeah, most definitely. And then I know we have some other big changes that are coming. Maybe this is the second thing again. That are coming.
remembered a second
Yeah.
one, actually.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
We'll
totally
read
forgot
this
to
in
put
the
this on
patch
there.
notes, more
So
precise.
In the PTR, we took some pretty big swings on leveling progression and torment progression. And I just want to sort of rehash what you're saying, which is the PTR is a place to test. It's a place to test. We might put things in that we're not necessarily committed to because we want to test it.
It's not like that you
your
need
feedback is
glyphs
super
100, by
valuable.
the
It's a
way.
discussion
Okay.
always, right, with the community
Pyro,
and the
thank you for your
players
sub.
ourselves play the PTRs to feel
Good
things
evening,
out. It's
Pyro.
a really good place for us to do that because we're able to play with some of you all. So, might be me on the other side of the screen griefing you or something. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that. So I think one of the things we did is tone back the leveling speed reduction. So it's a little bit slower, but it's not as slow as it was in the PTR. We just
Okay,
want to sort
you
of
heard it.
smooth out that leveling experience. It's not really that big of a difference in terms of Season 8. And the other thing we did also change is the Torment and Pit scaling. So we've nerfed that from what it was on PTR, but it's still a little bit stronger
Thank
than
you.
it was on Season 7. Again, really, this is sort of us trying to find the sweet spot of introducing a bunch of new seasonal power. We also want to make sure
These are
Torment
two
progression
very
feels
good
as as it
changes,
did in
3 very
Season
good
6.
changes
We
actually.
sort of have
Torment
this,
pit
like,
scaling,
journey
well
and,
done.
sort of challenge that you need to face to overcome. We think unlocking that power and progressing through our game just is that much sweeter when you hit that sweet spot of actually having to work for some of this stuff. So we've pared it back. You can think about it as Torment 1 is about a pit tier harder than Season 7, and Torment 4 is about 6 to 7 pit tiers harder than it was on Season 7, coming in Season 8. So we have pared back. Feedback was super helpful. I know everyone was losing their minds that we made the game doubly hard. That's just sort of how we balance things on the PTR, is we either double or half it. It just helps us sort of lock in a good middle ground. We also find that if we buff it like 10%, it's like, did we even change anything?
It was way too hard on the PTR, almost impossible to do proper pitting.
3 seasons,
So this
we
is
just wanna
very
sort
good
of
change.
Figure out a good middle ground. So that was the second thing.
That was the second thing. And so the other second thing is we have some big changes that are coming to the season journey as well. And I know you wanted to talk about some of that.
Yeah, so with the changes that we'll talk about after this, with the introduction of Reliquary, we've actually taken an opportunity to separate out the season's journey from the Battle Pass. So that also means all of the ashes that you would earn have been taken out of the Battle Pass. You no longer sort of have this.
So you get ashes from season journey now.
Season's journey to earn favor, to then progress the Battle Pass, to then try and get your ashes, but those are level locked. It was just too many things. So we've taken it out. Now it's very clear. And I think the season's journey is going to feel a lot more rewarding in that now all the ashes are earned through the season's journey. We also have individual rewards for each
Disgusted
objective
Citizen,
within
no,
the
there's
chapter.
nothing really
We've also just
new.
refreshed the UI,
No.
so we're able to
Apart from
compact and sort
Belial.
of consolidate some of the objectives into a really clear sort of singular objective. You'll notice, like, if you put on your glasses, I have to like lean in to actually read some of these things, but you'll notice that some of these objectives have sub-objectives, and it just sort of better encapsulates what we are asking you to do. So I think this is going to be a pretty big win for the
Here,
overall
unlock
system.
Paragon
It
nodes.
lets
They're
us
actually
evolve
pretty
it a
nice.
little bit more now that it's detached from the Battle Pass, and I think it's just overall a much cleaner and rewarding experience.
Yeah, most definitely. I know that the season's blessings being moved into season journey and like being less complicated when it was in the Battle Pass was a big thing we've heard from some players, because I know there's points where we actually had moments where sometimes maybe a player would end up getting a season blessing or so just buying like an accelerator or whatever. So this now completely detaches it from it, which is a really big thing that we wanted to hit on, especially with feedback from players. So thank you, Colin, for walking us through. There's more changes in the patch notes that Colin hit on here.
At this
So
point,
again,
just give us
check
the
them out
patch notes.
afterwards.
No
But,
more Campfire
one
chat.
thing we did want to talk about, and this is kind of alluding to what Colin was talking about beforehand with the season journey, is the Reliquary itself. Reliquary, if you guys actually read the blog earlier this week for Season 8, the Reliquary is a brand new system that is being added into Diablo 4. It actually starts with Season 8 specifically, and will be in seasons going forward.
Now let's
but
hear
this
it.
is kind of
Now,
a,
what did you
a
do to the
change
Battle
the whole
Pass?
entire Battle Pass system. It gives players a lot more control, a little bit more choice on exactly rewards that they want. Plus, it gives more variety in the actual rewards that they're going to be getting. I was not. We actually have a video for the Reliquary. Funny enough, I was not planning on hosting today. Marcus is actually out sick today, so get well, Marcus. Have a smoothie. So I am hosting, and Marcus was supposed to throw to this video, which is done by myself. So I will be throwing it to myself to talk a little bit more about Reliquary, so you guys get a little bit of a better understanding of what the new system is.
So they made it more
I'm thrilled to
Fortnite-y.
share the exciting changes coming to Season 8 Belials Return with the Reliquary system.
Ready?
This refresh of the Battle Pass system puts choice at the forefront, allowing you to select the order in which you unlock rewards from different catalogs. You alone will determine how to spend the favor you earn from slaying demons and completing quests in both seasonal and eternal realms, picking rewards that speak most to your character's fantasy. Now we're going to look at the features of the system, how to unlock rewards from it, and what you can expect to find in each reliquary. In the Battle Pass reliquaries, you will find individual catalogs you can earn rewards from, each one being a reliquary. With the launch of the upcoming season, Belials Return, you will
He
have
says
these
reliquary
Battle Pass
one more
reliquary
time.
options.
I'll start drinking.
Belials Return, weapons, beasts, and armor. Each reliquary contains cosmetic rewards to customize your Wanderer. To earn these rewards, players will need to acquire favor, which is gained by killing monsters and completing quests. Each time you fill a bar, you acquire 1 favor token. You can hold up to 99 favor tokens at a time and must spend some before you're able to earn more. Also note that up to 99 favor tokens do carry over from season to season if you don't spend it, giving you a head start on next season's reliquaries.
But that's
Let's dive a
stupid.
little
Why
deeper
would I
by
want a
checking
head
out
start?
Belials Return, a battle
Making the
pass
grind
reliquary
even
available
shorter.
for everyone on season launch. Here you will choose the order in which rewards are unlocked. Items in a reliquary can be claimed in whatever order you desire, and you can claim items for any reliquary while it's available. So if you want this badass Celestian mount before the Star-Crossed Path Town portal, the power of choice is in your hand.
I mean, it's pretty much
You may
just a
have noticed one
gamified
item in the
system
above
to
reliquary
give you a
has
feeling of
star
choice.
icon on it. This is a bonus reward. These rewards are
And the
automatically
choice is
unlocked
just
once you have
unnecessary.
claimed all other items in the specific reliquary using favor.
Right?
Bonus rewards are just that, a bonus, and don't require favor to claim. Remember to claim them as soon as they are unlocked. Wanderers who complete all Battle Pass reliquaries will receive the pieces needed to arm themselves in the menacing Guise of the Deceiver armor set.
I like that you can color it. It's kind of cool.
There will be 2 Battle Pass bundle options for players. The Premium Battle Pass bundle unlocks all 3 premium reliquaries at a discount, while the Deluxe Battle Pass bundle gives instant access to the bonus armor set and 2 additional rewards you won't find in other reliquaries.
It's just adding an extra step. It's a gamified
Lastly,
system,
reliquaries
giving you an
introduce the
illusion of
ability for us to
choice.
now create
Really,
unique
that's
tie-ins
it.
for future events and IP collaborations. These are completely separate from the Battle Pass, and we're looking forward to creating special moments for all players out there. Let's go through our first example with our Diablo and Berserk collaboration coming soon.
Wait, we're
Our
getting the
first collab
Berserk
reliquary
thingy,
will have a
chat.
unique
It's kind of
currency
cool.
that players can acquire in-game called Belials. This will roll out in early May, and we're looking forward to you gathering and earning Berserk-themed cosmetics. Events will generally be available for shorter periods of time, so you should check on this tab every now and then. Reliquaries launch with Season 8 Belials Return. For more details, check out our Reliquary System section in the official Season 8 blog. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all in Sanctuary.
Berserk is a very fitting collab.
Thanks, Adam, for the for the update on reliquaries. It's very odd seeing myself on camera and having to cut myself to myself for reliquaries. But if you want to learn more about reliquaries itself, we do have a pretty deep dive on it in our Season 8 blog, which was posted on Monday. So just go to Diablo4.com. You can check out reliquaries. We're going to hear how reliquaries feels with people when they jump into the game on Season 8. So let us know, like, jump in, try it out.
It
see how
seems
works
like
out,
a better
and provide
system, but
feedback,
we all
'cause
know
we're
it's
always
just
open to
meant to
hearing
get more
about
money from you,
more related
right?
to anything related to, or anything related to Diablo 4. That's what I meant to say. So next up, one thing that we did want to talk about, and this kind of actually ties back into what I was talking about on the video, which is our first IP collab. This is something that we teased last week and we announced earlier this week that we're super stoked about, and this is the Berserk Diablo collab. It's kind of like the collab that is like a match made in hell, haha. Just because if you're a fan of Berserk, you probably know
Company wants your
how
money
well
in
that
hell.
melds in with the Diablo.
I mean, the Berserk
universe.
collab
So
also
it's
wants your
really,
money,
really cool.
chat.
This is actually
These skins
launching
are gonna
on
cost
May
so
6th.
much.
And
But they're
again,
great.
it has an event reliquary with some cosmetics that are associated with it, as you said, as you guys saw in the video. And some of them are really, really cool. There's a ton of cool stuff for people to actually collect and of course, grab. And some of the items in the event reliquary that I mentioned on the video are here, like including gear, banners for your actual character, markings on your character as well. And then there's other cosmetics available that will be available in the shop that are really, really cool as well, that are throwbacks essentially to Berserk, which I believe we have here. We got one, I know, for the Necromancer.
Yeah, that's the
Barb,
Necromancer
and the
on the
Rogue.
right.
These look
This is
absolutely sick.
the
That
Huntress. This is
ridiculous.
Rogue, I think.
Really, really cool. And then one other thing is, this is disturbing, but also awesome. And I'm gonna butcher the name. This is Chimimoro? Chimimoro? Yeah, Chimimoro.
Necro looks awesome, yes. It has ice
Funny
on the
enough,
ice sword.
A really popular character that doesn't appear much in the Berserk manga, but we also nickname him the Schnoz, is a pet that will also be available
See,
in Diablo 4.
this had
with the
more
Berserk
screen
Diablo
time than the
4 hub.
actual Berserk skins.
It's
Explain,
adorable,
chat.
it's disturbing,
Don't you just want to pick it?
and yeah, you wanna pick the schnoz nose thing. It does actually have an animation where the booger is running out of the nose,
no.
which is even more adorable or
His name
disturbing.
is Chimimoro.
Chimimoro.
Or
Wuru.
no, we're butchering.
Now we're butchering
It's
it.
fine.
But yes, but yeah. So this is part of the Berserk Lab. This is going to be running from May 6th through June 3rd. So make sure to actually check it out. So it'll be a little bit after the start of season
I hope I
8,
get
'cause
some
season 8
Berserk
will be
keys to give
starting
away to you
on April
guys. That would be
29th.
great.
One other thing that we did want to also call out is that Twitch drops are coming back for season 8. We actually have a new weapon that will be available, and that will be from April 29th.
Oh, support a
through
streamer
May
too, chat. Let's go.
You essentially just have to watch 3 hours on any person that is streaming
Well,
Diablo 4.
they got my streaming
during
time
those
for 2
periods,
weeks.
And make sure that you have Twitch drops enabled and your account's all connected and everything like that. And you'll end up getting a new weapon cosmetic, which is really cool, and we'll show it here in a second. Separately, we do have a support a streamer program that is going on that is also tied with Berserk, but this is the weapon here. It's the Marrow of the Brutes. It's a 2-handed sword. Looks really sick.
Probably if you give
Super
2
stoked
subs
for
away,
this
you
one.
get
And
that
then
skin,
we have a
chat.
support a streamer. This one is gift or purchase just 1 sub to any content creator that is streaming Diablo 4 between May 6th and June 3rd. This is between the Berserk timelines, and you'll get this cool mount trophy, which is the skull.
Seems
the
like we
skull
gotta
palette,
play some
mount
Diablo
trophy
4,
that will
huh?
be available May 6th
Chat.
through June 3rd. So Twitch drops is coming back for the start of season 8, and then we'll have a support a streamer that will start with the
No, I mean,
Berserk
seriously.
collab. So a lot of cool stuff that is coming up, and that's all the content that we have here. I know, as we always do for every single stream, we do go into a Q&A. So I know we do want to talk about a few items within the Q&A. So if you're on Twitch, it's one of those days, everyone. Throwing to myself, squeaky voices, earpiece doesn't stand, stuff like that. Chimimoro.
So this is just the Q&A, but so far, I have written everything. I've written everything down, chat, here. The only really new news is Apparition have whispers now. You have to spend less spectral ash to level up stuff. Boss powers cap at 200 Paragon. They're not main for the build anymore, so nerfed. The classes have been rebalanced because they were nerfed too much. So a little bit of a buff. That's good, right? Sorg is better, technically. Spiritborn is better because unyielding hits works. But if you didn't like the season 8 theme,
we'll be updating.
You won't
within
magically
these
like it.
updates that I think players are really hopeful to see. We've heard from some of the feedback, and some of those things I know we had chatted about were really around like some things
Spiritborn
around
looks good.
skill
Spiritborn
trees.
looks interesting,
are we gonna
Dispatcher.
plan
I'm
on
definitely
doing
gonna look
updates
at
to
it.
Skill trees. Are there any updates to like additional end game features? And I know you and I had chatted a little bit about it.
Yeah, we chat like every day, right? They call me up at 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
"Oh, let
I'm
me
just like just eating dinner. Just wanted to chat with Colin.
Yeah. And I'm like, let me wrap up this Nightmare Dungeon out.
I'm up for. I mean, I'm gonna play it at least for a week to 2 weeks to level up every class to 60 as always, chat.
Looking at in terms of
Standard
doing some
Diablo
sort of
fare
major
for me.
updates too. We also are taking a look at aspects because
2 to 3 days per class.
Sort of very similar in the same space. It is a lot of moving parts, so we want to get it right. So it is a pretty major thing that we need to take our time on and need to work through so it hits the players at a really high quality bar. So there are lots of things like that that we are talking about and we're having conversations about. So really the roadmap to us is more just a starting point to help sort of flesh out and sort of continue the discussion with you all on like how we're building Diablo 4.
Exactly, and as we progress through the timeline itself and we update the roadmap, some of these things that we just talked about here will be populated in there, and you guys will see.
You'll need a week to
exactly
get to
when those
60.
will end up
No,
landing.
no.
So really looking forward
We'll
to
probably
updating that and
take
keeping that updated
right
for
now
everyone out
up
there so
to
you guys
10
have
hours
better
to
clarity on
60.
exactly what's to come for Diablo 4.
Maybe
There's
we
a
can
ton
do it
more
in
to come, which
8,
we're super
maybe in
stoked about.
6.
Separately, I know that the seasons
fast enough.
themselves have been a big topic amongst players of like, because for us, I think Seasons has always been kind of a opportunity for us to really change Diablo 4 and learn.
I think
more
work on
and more
D5
about
has
what
started.
players really enjoy. We saw
I
that
think
with,
D4 was supposed to have a
past
life
seasons where we
cycle of
brought back things
6
like
to 8
Awakened
years.
Rings. We brought back things like Vampiric
So no.
Powers. We even saw that in this stream where we're bringing back some of those the Whisper ancestral caches and everything like that. And so I know we talked about opportunities, I think, for the community to really provide some feedback over to us of like, what are some of those things that you guys really enjoy? Because we most definitely want to hear you guys out, see what we can do to maybe reintroducing some of those things to kind of keep things like fresh for players.
Yeah, it's really like we look to sort of you all to help inform what are the things that are working really well. We also play the game a lot, and we sort of like testing out things in seasons to bring back. I think a really great example of this is if you remember all the way back in season 2, which is kind of crazy. It's like over a year now. We learned a lot with the sort of blood harvest, right? And we took a lot of those learnings and put it into Helltide in season 4. Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways that it sort of manifests itself in terms of us evolving Diablo 4 over time, bringing things back. We just want to make sure we bring it back in a way that services the overall game and just helps level up the entire game. We just want to make sure that we don't necessarily bring things back that disrupt the fun of the game or sort of ruin the experience. So it's a fine balance on like, what can we bring in? We want to make sure that we're doing it right. Seasons is a way for us to really test out some crazy stuff where we're okay with things breaking. Like I think Boss Powers is a great example of like, yeah, it's going to definitely disrupt the balance of the game. What are some of the things that we might actually want to pull in or learn from this? So we're always talking about it, and we would love to hear from you on sort of what you think is working really well.
Yeah, because it gives, once we hear back from you guys, it gives us the opportunity to really just like take that, learn, and really start building upon that. Like maybe
were we meant to get a Q&A?
It's a great example. I think it's like
now they're just
Abattoirs
waffling.
Here. Abattoirs here was a great learning point from us, where it essentially evolved into what we now have as the pit, which is really cool to see. So let us know. We most definitely want to keep learning and growing from some of these seasons as they progress, and give us the feedback of what you guys want to kind of see coming back into Diablo 4 to keep things dynamic and fresh for everyone out there. So we're going to now jump into, after I ignore this, please update your computer. We're going to jump into questions. So if you have questions, again, just feel free to drop them into Twitch chat. We'll try to get through as many as possible. We have a question from Tralamaza that says, are boss keys still tradable?
Yes. Yes.
So players can still trade those even with all the changes to lair bosses.
Well,
and
our
everything
team
like
will
that. You
be
most definitely
strong,
can.
right, Chad?
I actually think I just want to
You can't do rotations anymore.
I think it's
people will still
interesting
buy keys in
now
the
that
internet
the
for no
keys
reason.
Are going to be drained from the economy much faster now that everyone has to pay their share. I think the key economy trading-wise is actually going to be a little bit more interesting, and that they're worth a little bit more. I also think it just works.
Headhunt
well
zones
if you're
should be a
playing in party
recurring
and
thing like
someone's missing
Helltides.
out
Yep.
on a couple of keys, you can trade it to them. So it still sort of maintains that sort of social element where if you and I are playing and you're missing out on some keys, I can give it to you. You might trade me some. So it all still works.
Especially since the more players in your party.
It would be cool if headhunts, something like that, would appear every 30 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So you can just get
why
lucky.
so blue,
They're randomly
Panda Bear?
there.
I don't know why you're so blue, Panda Bear. Are you still planning on doing immediate fixes for classes that are too OP instead of waiting until mid-season patch?
Yeah, that's definitely our shifted philosophy that we talked about on the PTR live stream a while back, where we're really looking at that first week or two right after launch. So really next week and the week after, we're going to be taking a big focus on looking for those really big outlier builds, those ones that are really maybe shortcutting the progression of the game or kind of blowing out the powers that we expect. And looking to make rapid reaction. It's always in the interest of respecting players' time. We don't want it to last too long and then we nerf it later and you feel bad that, hey, I invested so much time in this. We really want to be rapid in our response to that. With that being said, we are going to be kind of measured in that response. We don't want, if something is just strong, if it's like, hey, this is a strong build, I'm able to do the game, we're not going to just come in and nerf anything that is strong. We're really focusing on
We're
the
not
big
Path of
outliers,
Exile, chat.
both on
Listen.
the high end and on the low end. If something is dramatically underperforming, we'll look to make rapid reaction there as well. But it's all about making sure that you feel comfortable investing in your build which is why we want to get that out sooner this season and all seasons moving forward.
Yeah, again, it's about taking something that's like S plus to S, right? So we're not looking to crater or just kneecap any of these crazy builds.
Even if it's S plus, you could leave it S plus.
111 and Sirius Kingsley actually are asking a question that we kind of just addressed in what we were talking about in the beginning, where they're saying like, hey, can we get seasonal mechanics more, maybe become permanent as like end-game systems? Or Sir Kingsley asked, can we get seasonal powers added to the game permanently? This kind of just goes back to what we were saying beforehand of let us know what you guys like what you guys what resonated really well with you guys during seasons, and we can look at what we can end up bringing back and incorporating into the game, so that Diablo 4 is constantly evolving for players specifically from that end. Condis asks, was campaign XP / leveling nerfed since PTR?
So we did adjust. So I'll take the full journey. So in season 8 PTR, we did slow things down substantially. We didn't touch campaign or anything like that. And then in season 8, we have pared back the nerfs that we did to leveling. So it's a lot more similar to season 7. It's just a little bit more streamlined. We haven't touched campaign XP or anything like that.
Question from Quig6246. Can you guys, or for the Q&A later, can you ask, is the new Stormstrike aspect, will it also apply to the free cast from the Crone staff for Druid?
I'm pretty sure it should.
We'll double confirm. And a great opportunity for you to follow up with Charles on our Sanctuary Discord after this stream, because he's actually going to be doing an additional Q&A on our Sanctuary Discord. So after the stream.
A Q&A into a Q&A chat followed up by a Q&A.
We really want our tooltips to have a lot of clarity around the skills. And so I'm stalling for time. If we could get production to bring up that slide one more time, I can tell you
a little bit more Q&A,
certainty, because when we're looking at skill tooltips and we use the word cast, like when you cast Stormstrike with capital C, that refers to when you actually press the button and do it. If we don't use the word cast, and we just say Stormstrike does a thing, that should work in cases where it gets kind of what we call auto casted by something else. By like the Great Staff of the Crone, it auto casts Stormstrike. And so depending on the precise wording there, it should clarify that interaction. That's kind of what we want to stick to make sure things are clear to players. Is using that cast wording to differentiate.
The way you're explaining it, it ain't even clear.
We have it on screen.
And it does look like it does not use the cast terminology here. It just says Stormstrike will just chain to twice as many targets. And so that should be working whenever it's auto cast from that the Great Staff of the Crone effect. Thank you so much, production.
That is actually a really good clarification, I think, and knowledgeable for a lot of people about the differences between the term cast and no cast.
Yeah, I believe we.
It's like when you try to explain something simple, but you waffle for a minute to explain something simple,
and totally understandable.
And it's not simple.
But that's definitely something that on the class design side, we really want to make sure we're being clear about these interactions, because we know there's so many interactions in the game. So any opportunity to clarify these things, we're definitely going to make sure we do our best in that regard.
We got a question from Chicken Wing 929. Good name. You said in the last live stream that you wanted Torment 4 to be aspirational, so that only 10% of players will reach it. Will there be a seasonal objectives that must be completed in Torment 4 difficulty? So players will probably see in this season, like as they get to the last chapter, there are going to be some Torment 4 specific requirements on some of those.
They nerfed it again.
And
it's more than 10%
there's
now.
like a fine balance, I think, that we're trying to strike, where it's like, do we want there to be like aspirational goals and rewards for players within the season journey itself? And then there's also like, okay, we understand that some of those things may require a decent amount of time or a specific build. So we really do want to hear like some feedback after players jump into this season, what they feel works really well, what they don't feel works really well, especially for season journey and some of those later achievements that you have to obtain. So let us know. Like we're open to hearing about it.
They only want 10% of players to play the whole game experience, and that's not true. Season 4 is functionally, Torment 4 is functionally not different to 3, 2, and 1.
Adjusted around or something like that.
There's nothing more
from the
in Torment 4.
itself.
Yeah, definitely open to change.
Apart from pain.
Question from Dalius. Are there any plans on adding bounties or other small in-game activities to fill in between other objectives, possibly?
I think that's definitely.
You assume everyone gets to tier 4? No.
We've talked about, and it's one of those
even in the
things
current
that we
version,
wanna do
not.
it right. Currently, right now, we're using the Whisper system to sort of do that. You see that with the Apparition Incursions, where periodically, the Apparition Incursion will get that Whisper.
People
that you're
keep
able to
saying
go
Diablo
do.
4 is
I think the
simple,
one thing
but
that really kind of
simple doesn't
don't
mean
love about
easy,
the Whispers right
and
now
people
is that it is
still struggle a
based
lot.
on a timer. We set the timer to be pretty generous. They're constantly rolling, but we know that this is something that we can improve on. So it's something that we definitely are interested in taking a look at.
Awesome. Question from Crushalvane. Have you thought about buffing glyph building from content other than pits, like dungeons, whispers, bosses?
So we've made a change to make it so the pit can level those at a much higher deficit, so -50. We do like that this is a reward for pushing in the pit. We kind of like when the rewards are pretty clear what you need to do for it. We also like that of all the different activities in the game, the pit's uniqueness is that it is one of the few activities that allows you to sort of modulate your personal difficulty, and we want to continue that sort of paradigm where the deeper you push in the pit, the more glyph levels you get. So I think that's definitely working well for us, but open to hearing thoughts and feedback as we continue to...
You can now level even if you can't
EV
do
Demonic
higher tier.
666. Evil. Evil EVs. I guess it's like an Umbreon, isn't it? What are the drop rates for Mythic Uniques? Are they being increased per boss layer / Torment tier?
Oh yeah, so the Mythic Uniques increase with Torment. We actually did a pretty substantial, if you want to farm Mythic Uniques, I almost call them Giga Belial, Supreme Belial, we get in trouble because we constantly say greater, Giga, Uber. Yeah, we're running out of adjectives for big bad.
Okay.
Supreme Belial has the highest chance of all the lair bosses, and he's really the place to go. So we position Mythic Uniques and Ancestrals targeting and things like that on Supreme Belial.
Definitely celebrate
Interesting.
the end of the journey when you get to the top of the lair boss ladder. Make that a big moment.
Cool. We had a question here and it deleted from my document, so I think someone from the community may have killed it. But there was a question related to, and they may have missed it in the beginning, but I'm just going to reiterate it, but about skill trees. Are there going to be changes and reworks and things like that? I know we confirmed earlier that we are looking at it. We're looking at doing some stuff. And as we get closer to when that is ready, we'll end up updating our roadmap to incorporate some of those things. Last question I'm going to take is from Grimmy Grim. Do you feel like class and build balance will be in a good place now? I'm afraid some builds will be 100 times stronger than other builds again.
Class build balance would
Our
never
goal
be
is
in a
not to
good
have
place.
things that are 100 times stronger, of course. Balance is constantly ongoing. Every season, we're making new content, new ways of playing the game, and also balancing the system. It's not just on the class side; it's also on the encounters, the bosses you're fighting, the enemies or the activities you're doing, the torment tiers, and the scaling. There's a lot of moving parts here, and it's kind of a constant, ongoing thing to strive for balance. And I don't think that even if literally every build dealt exactly the same amount of DPS, that wouldn't be ideal either, right? There should still be some natural variation, but our goal is really to make sure that players, no matter what build you're playing, is that you're able to complete a lot of the content in the game. If you make any kind of competent build that comes together in a good way, you should be able to complete that season journey if you're putting in that time. Get to Torment 4 and be able to take down the bosses, the strongest form of Belial. That's our main goal. And we understand that sometimes there are going to be some outliers above that. And we are actively looking to monitor and tamp down on those ones that are 100x stronger than everything else. And also find the ones that are 100x weaker than the par or some
this
number.
has historically not
some number
worked.
weaker and make sure that they are able to achieve all of the goals in the game. Our real driving philosophy is that we don't want you to feel like I'm playing the game wrong because I'm not playing this overpowered build. But exact perfect parity where every build deals exactly the same amount of damage is both impossible and undesirable.
Yeah, I think it's a lot, just sort of taking a step back as well. Achieving perfect balance really relies on stability and not injecting anything new.
Correct.
Right, and I think we try and walk that balance of we do want to shake up the meta. We want there to be cool new ways to play the game. Boss powers are getting added to really.
I don't mind if a
shake up
season
that
has a
meta,
too
and
strong
that is
build.
in direct
If
conflict
it's just
with
the
perfect
flavor of the
balance, right?
season.
So we are trying to walk that line. That's not to say that we're cool with the.
Then I'll just play that
100x,
build for
but
that
we're
season.
Just to really reiterate, they're sort of at polar opposites of the spectrum. Adding new stuff and balance are very at odds. So.
Cool. I lied. I have one more question, which is, and I wanted to address it really quickly, but Captain Mergen asked if we have unused Battle Pass upgrades or Ultimate Edition or whatever, will those carry over with the new reliquaries? We actually have all the details of how those will work. They're actually being converted over to like reliquary tokens or to platinum, depending on what type of upgrade you actually have. So that's all laid out in the blog that we posted earlier this week. So make sure to check out that blog. It's on Diablo4.com. It's our full Season 8 blog, and it's in the reliquary section. It has all the details specifically related to that. So that is us. That is it today.
Luckily, he answered a Battle Pass question at the end. Would have been a shame
Season
not
8
clarify that.
developer update live stream. Just a quick reminder, Season 7 is ending starting next week because Season 8 actually kicks off on April 29th. So make sure to jump into Season 7, clear out any of your final Battle Pass items or Season Journey items that you may need to. Get Dorian, like the Raven, if you haven't, Raven. Dorian. Make sure to get Raven. I know. I just absolutely. I am so sorry, Dorian. Secondly, we have Charles is going to be in a Sanctuary sit-down. Sanctuary is a Discord. It's our largest Diablo community Discord. He's going to be jumping in there and talking to Lurkin, who's a content creator within the Diablo Partner Program, and he'll be doing a Q&A immediately after the stream. So if you want to, jump into the Sanctuary Discord, and Charles will be talking a little bit more about classes, class balance, himself.
No.
Hobbies, what type of pizza he likes,
where his tattoos are.
Where his tattoos are, things like that. And then, of course, Patch Notes will be live on Diablo4.com immediately after we end the stream. So thank you, everyone, again, for joining me on the Diablo 4 Season 8 Developer Update live stream. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you in Sanctuary on... well, anytime, but next week for Season 8 with Belial on April 29th, and of course our Berserk collab the following week. So thank you all, and we'll see you in Sanctuary.
See ya.
Thanks for watching. And now the patch notes chat. And we're waiting for that. Because that has been it. Right? So we just watched this stream for how long? 2 hours, roughly. To know that, well, I mean, there are good things, right? So we get the Opal Vendors buff, we get Whisper Caches back, leveling is easier now, no Pit 100 is needed, leveling is faster again, Torment Pit scaling is lower, Season Journey is reworked, and you can get the Ashes faster, so that's kind of nice too. Supreme Belial drops most mythic uniques, we have... Necromancer rebuffed because it was kind of nerfed. Zanguar's Blade was also changed because that was kind of different. I actually want to see like if I could hook up a Zanguar's Blade really quickly because Zanguar's it would used to be useless and now it should be weapon. Let me check. Zanguar's. Here's Zanguar's. It used to read. Let me see how that used to read. Zanguar's used to read, your vampiric damage, your summons inflict enemies with vampiric curse. Consuming a corpse also contributes a soul to vampiric curse, which can now stack up to 20 souls. Army of the Dead can now unleash the souls of the curse, causing both army and the soul to deal 10% damage. See, that used to be 10% damage, and now it's 25% more damage. That means 20 souls, 25% more damage, 500% more damage on Army of the Dead. Not super useful, but certainly something. The first 20 minutes were useless. The first 20 minutes of the Campfire chat could have been left completely out. Okay, what we're missing now is the patch notes, guys, because the patch notes is the important part. The whole Campfire chat was essentially useless, and we just need the patch notes. So please, someone tell me if we, like, as soon as you see the patch notes, they should land on Diablo.com probably under the news very soon. I think they're there already. Let me check. We got them. Okay, boom chat. Patch notes. Let's see. Okay, Zanrune. Duration increased from 0.25 to 3.3. Overflow effect. Increased damage, increased duration. Attack is damage reduced from 1,000 to 700. We get Spiritborn. You know what? It would have been great if you actually told us what the Xanad attack runes do. We know what the Xanad attack runes do, but Would have been smart to add that. Okay, moved from utility to defensive category. Rushing Claw does more damage. Seppa Sonntag increased from, that is a minimal increase. That's not really there. The Sunbird's Gorget, that damage boost is really important, right? And now also makes Stormfeathers a Jaguar skill. That's really nice. Base game, Belials Return. Okay, so we have Andera's Flaming Skull used to have a huge multiplier, is now reduced. We knew that. The I-Beam used to have an insane multiplier, is now reduced. It should still be worth it, but just not main base build, right? Slightly sped up the Ice Orbiting Rotation, that's nice, but they reduced the I-Beams. And they reduced the duration. I hate that. Harbinger of Hatred, slightly down. Urivar, slightly down. Druid's Barrow down. Sign Red, a lot of downs. Sad Face. Avarice is scaling nothing anymore. It was damage per resource. It was so good, but now it's like barely anything. So that's kind of bad. Lilith Power does actually get damage increase because it was too weak, which is kind of cool to see that at least something get up, right? But mostly all the boss powers went down. Okay, Whirlwind is getting a damage increase. Cool. Furious Whirlwind does more bleed now. That's actually from 40% to 120%. That's kind of nice. Double Swing has Fury cost reduced. They want you to actually play Double Swing, so they said it's going to be like a season of potentially double swinging. Upheaval Fury cost reduction is nice for leveling and more damage, so that's going to be good. We got the Executioner's Aspect. Damage per 100 strength reduced from 15 to 5. That's huge. Chat, that's huge. And the damage bonus capped at 200%, because usually we used to get like, what, 4,000 strength almost, and the bonus was insane. I mean, if it's per 100 strength, with 1,000 strength, you would always get 150%. With 2,000 strength, 300. With 3,000, and so on, right? So the damage multiplier was insane. FX replaced with chance double swing to double damage. That's nice for Twin Strikes. Storm Strike, radius increased by 50% is good. Non-physical damage was increased. Yes. Raven's passive damage increased. Poison Creeper is also buffed now. People were actually excited for that. Don't worry, we'll get to the Bloodwave. Bloodwave needed to get buffed again because Bloodwave was nerfed too much. Hybrid 11, thank you for the Prime subscription. Hybrid 11, good to see you there, partner. Thank you for the 17 months of support. We get Earth and Mind. Well, guaranteed critical strike buff is active. It now also gains 50% increased critical strike damage. That's nice. Stack is now Spirit Generation increase. Thank you. I think, okay, Necromancer. Always spreads. Bloodwave is from 450 to 500. This was the case that they nerfed Bloodwave too much, and they nerfed also the Bloodwave aspect, and that Bloodwave with all the nerfs and with the damage cap was not doing enough damage. Still, it's silly that it's only 50%. It should have been a bit more. Terror was previously 369%. Now it is 369% to shadow damage to crowd-controlled enemies and to elites and bosses. Oh, wow. This is like 2 elites. That's nice. They changed it because it was immobilized, stunned, and everything. But now Terror is actually applying properly to bosses. That's insane. That's really cool because now this properly works against bosses. Okay, so Vampiric Curse is now officially a curse, which is good because there is some curse interactions. Especially Affliction, Amplify, Damage, Frailty. Wait, if Vampiric Curse is a curse, okay, guys? If Vampiric Curse is a curse, and you have Zangavar. Where is Zangavar? Okay, wait, let me pull this up. So Vampiric Curse is a curse now, yeah? We're Necromancer. We have the blade called Zangavar. And it would say that your minions are now applying Vampiric Curse. So summons damage, afflict enemies with Vampiric Curse, okay? What happens if we're now taking this effect? So if you take Affliction, Affliction says your curse skills deal 100% shadow damage when applied to afflicted enemies. Does that mean that if I have my minions apply a curse, they would also deal, that it will work with Affliction? It's not worth it, but it's kind of like still an interesting thought, right? A Flesh Eater Legendary node. Corpses consumed during the bonus duration will now count towards refreshing the bonus. This is insane. This is very good. So if you consume 5 corpses and you have Flesh Eater up and you consume number 6, number 7, so you can keep Flesh Eater now permanently up. This is very important for the Necromancer. This is like huge. Scent of Death used to be with at least 2 corpses nearby. You get damage reduction, no corpses. You gain damage reduction and deal 30% increased critical. Nice. Look at that, chat. Scent of Death is now flat damage reduction and critical strike damage increase. Very good. Okay. Grounds unstoppable rather than unhindered. Duration is reduced. Aspect of service and sacrifice. Damage increased. Still not worth it. Zangavor, they changed it completely. But still not, like, Zangavor might be working. Okay, Shadow Clone for Rogue. Death Trap has base cooldown higher. Cooldown reduction now. Kill or overpower reduced from 10 to 5. That's okay. Like, Death Trap used to be too much. Prime Death Trap, bonus damage reduced. It's also fine. Scoundrel Cellar no longer teleports you. Sork at Ice Shards now spawns slightly further behind the player to consistently hit close enemies. Okay, Avalanche is now better. We talked about that. We get more damage, so that's good. Shivering has more damage. Frozen Tundra. Scale with ranks of Deep Freeze. Okay. Ice Spike spawn from the aspect now scale with ranks of Blizzard. Ice Spike spawn from this aspect now scale with ranks of Ice Armor. Interesting. So if I use the Glacial aspect, I need to get more ranks in Blizzard to get more damage from the Ice Spike. Interesting. Interesting. That's kind of cool. Tempering. Elemental control recipe has been levels of convulsion. New tempering recipes. We get fire damage, physical damage, lightning damage, cold, poison, and shadow damage. Okay. So these are for everyone. So you could just boost physical damage if you feel like it. That's good for many builds, to be honest. Okay, Belial, Lord, he had his health and damage increased. He also gained some new tricks. Good. The experience reward reduction between level 1 and 25 has been lessened to create a smaller difference between this season and last season. Magic seasonal powers now cost 40% less spectral ash. That's huge. And rare 20. It should have been 40 and 40. We've adjusted the odds at which you can upgrade Paragon glyphs when your pit tier is lower than your glyph level. The odds at which you can upgrade Paragon glyphs when your pit tier is lower than your glyph level have been adjusted. You have a 0% chance to level a glyph if you're not within 10 pit tiers. Now, you have a 1% chance to level a glyph if you are within 50 pit tiers, doubling every 10 pit tiers. How's that written? You have a 1% chance to level a glyph if you are within 50 pit tiers, doubling every 10 pit tiers. What? The way this is written makes absolutely no sense. But I think it's just poorly worded. Like I've read this now multiple times. It's just poorly worded. I mean, the way how it works right now is like glyph leveling, right? Glyph leveling is if glyph is 10 levels. So if glyph is level 10 and pit is tier 20, then 100% chance, right? If glyph is level 11 and pit is tier 20, then 90% chance. That's kind of like how it used to be, right? Was it 99? Yeah, 90% chance, right? Yeah, roughly. So you kind of like, and then if glyph is level 10 and pit is tier 30, then 100% chance and +2. So this was +1, right? +1, +1, and this was the chance for +2. And then the higher the level difference, so if glyph is level 10 and pit is tier 40, or was it 50? Then 100% chance and +3. So like you just like the higher the difference, right, the better it is. This is how it used to be. But now it reads like this is just so weirdly worded. You have a 1% chance to level a glyph if you are within 50 pit tiers, doubling every 10 pit tiers. Okay, so let's try to break this down. If we are within 50 pit tiers, so that means, let's say, my glyph is level 1, okay? My glyph is level 1. And the pit tier is level 10. Then within 50 pit tiers, we have a 9 pit tier difference, so we are within 41 pit tiers. Wait, yeah. Like it's definitely not a nerf. So the basic idea is that if I am like, so the basic idea of the new system is that if you are level, if you're level glyph level 50 and you do a tier 50, then you still have a chance to get it. So this is just really poorly worded, but it makes sense, I guess. So the monster health increase per pit tier has been lessened to create a smaller difference between this season and the last season. That's good. And they said like this is now around the level of what 6 to 7 pit tiers, right? So that's actually good. So this is like tier 4, 6 to 7 pit tiers. Yeah, this rule is for when pit tier is lower than the glyph. So if you're doing pit tier 50 and your glyph is already level 60, but it still reads so weird, Stefan, right? So this is obviously meant for people that can't reach pit 100, but they want to have a glyph 100. But it still makes no sense. So if I do a pit tier 60 and I have a glyph level 70, how high is my chance of that, right? Fix an issue where defeating their boss could reward reputation. That's just bugs. Damage while human not show up character. Fix an issue where Bone Storm was generating less wall would not benefit from chance. Rogue, Sorg, General. Okay, we got Vessel of Hatred upgrades, but this is just literally for unique powers to just have them. Spiritborn gets more base damage. We had that before. The Zan rune here. Your next skill will cause your hits to be guaranteed critical sight and overpower. Increase duration. Duration from 0.25 to 0.35. This is still not good. Like they kind of butchered the Zan rune. I don't think it was necessary, but it is what it is. Tag, damage reduce lower, so that's what it is. We got Spiritborn bugs fixes. Fix an issue where aspect could occasionally stop working. Replenishing Ravager was not correctly triggering. Runes. There's just general fixes from runes. Miscellaneous. Okay. Stormstrike chains to, yeah, that was the impending deluge, just got buffed. Exactly. Zangovar is now buffed. Talked about it. Sacrifice and service is still terrible. Just got more cooldown reduction. Shivering aspect got buffed to more damage. And the rest of the stuff is still the same. For some reason, they show everything twice here in this. This like literally makes no sense the way they have done it. Right? A stone burst. Puncture and primary puncture's description have been updated to reference every third puncture. Well, generally speaking, there's not much new apart from like the things they actually mentioned, right? So all pretty much the same. Bosses and Apparitions Incursions now grant bonus experience. Thank you. A Whisper has been added for the Apparition Incursion events. Thank you very much, too. Ancestral Cache is added. We know that. Unique items. We knew this. Initiate greater, so they still take the same amount of keys. Actually, lesser amount of keys now, so that's pretty good. So it's 2, 3, 12. That's good. The keys are, by the way, still the steel, the hearts, and that kind of stuff. Okay? What's the mechanic for this season? Boss powers. Boss powers. Common quality items will no longer drop beyond level 6. Magic quality items will be most prevalent until around level 25 when rare and beyond items start to take precedent. Magic items will now appear with 2 affixes. Yes, with 2 affixes becoming standard as players' levels increases. And rare items will appear with 2 to 3 affixes. Remember, rare items did never have 3 affixes, right? Legendary items drops have been reduced during leveling. It was a bit worse, so now with level 30, you have most of your legendary items. But before, you're mostly magic and rare, which is kind of okay. The only thing I dislike about this is that we're getting aspects less. All the bosses have new mechanics. Congratulations. Shrines will no longer appear. Skills that cost health will now fail to cast when the cost is higher than the player's current health, instead reducing the player health to 1. Necromancer, Bone Storms like chance slightly less than intended. That Razor Glyph was not properly applying to all minions bonus damage nodes, so that's good. That is finally something that works. Dearest memory will no longer trigger if the player health is 10% or lower. Second Bone Spear from Desolate Visage didn't heal the player, so that's nice. So finally, Bone Spear should work. So we have to do dungeons ASAP for aspects? No, still not. How would you rate Season 8 for what you heard so far? I mean, Season 8 is going to be a 7 out of 10. Like, Season 8 is for Diablo 4 aficionados, for people that like Diablo 4, for people that want to interact with a Berserk collab. This is nothing that's going to pull back a new player. This is like, I'm sorry if you hope for this, if you want to hear some cool, amazing news. No, this season is not going to make you play again if you don't like the game anyways. Like, right? If you were hoping for this to bring you back into the fold, nope. Sorry. This is not happening. These changes are like, so the changes are good changes. Like, let me be fair. Like, let's give credit where credit's due. The game is getting slightly harder. Torment 4 is getting slightly more aspirational. So it's going to be a bit more of a struggle. Now, slower is not necessarily better, but they at least introduce a slight level of challenge. And fighting the bosses is not just going to be a super blast anymore. You're going to at least have to get to a certain power level to fight the bosses, which makes it slower, but more rewarding to maybe finally reach tier 4. So if you actually reach tier 4, it's a good thing. You're going to be like, wow, I made it. Because right now, you're getting to tier 4 is kind of like, when will I finally be there? And now it's like more of an aspirational challenge. Not as much as, but still more so. That being said, the game is more being fixed than new things added, right? So this whole season is still, despite getting the boss powers, it's a season of we're fixing mechanics that are broken and not we're giving you cool new things. Okay? So this is going to be just clear as day to you. This whole season is literally we're fixing the boss layers. And it's masked as a new season. I will play it. I will enjoy it because the boss powers are actually fun. It is actually cool. And I am looking forward to see what I can do. Gareth, also before you say GGG has done it better, GGG's latest patch, Dawn of the Hunt, that I have enjoyed tremendously, is also a gigantic bug fix. The most of the content in there is things they should have fixed anyways. Obviously, they're in early access, and this game is out for 2 years, so what's your excuse, right, Gareth? Out for 2 years, they should know better. than fixing their game 2 years later. This is stuff that should have been fixed or part of a new season and not the new season. Still, I'm excited. I'll play it. I'm looking forward to it. I'll make a video for tomorrow, chat, where I wrap all of this together. So for you who are unsure, I will take the key points, like as I said, that the game is slightly easier again, the leveling is more streamlined, the changes with the journey, with the season goals, because I think this is actually a fun change. It's going to make the game more fun for me personally, the way how I interact with the season goal thing, you know? Guess it's going to be good. Like, definitely, if the PTR released, I would have not played Season 8. So I'm gonna give you fair and straight, guys. Without the changes that they actually did, I would have probably not played Season 8. No matter if they were Twitch drops, no matter if I would have given it maybe a week, maybe 7 days. Like, quick level every class to 60, give you like a very washed build and be done. Now with the changes, I'm more excited to play, right? So definitely well done for them to get my excitement back, because it was, maybe it was at a 4 out of 10, my excitement. Now my excitement is sitting at a 7 out of 10 to play this, right? I'm not a 10 out of 10, definitely not. But it's good enough to like look forward to actually play this and have some fun with you guys, right? Yeah, after this, I'll give it a shot. See, that's my way too. I was like, it's going to be okay. Now I'm going to be like, it's going to be okay plus. I'm looking forward to this. That being said, I need to go to bed. I'm tired because I want to give you this video tomorrow as soon as possible with all the things wrapped up. I do believe it's going to be good. Therefore, have a great good night. Thank you for watching with me. Thank you for lurking here, hanging out. Can't wait to drop the video for you and give you all the amazing builds for Season 8 as well. So take care. Have a good night.